Chapter 63, Thunderflame Gale Array. Chapter 63, Thunderflame Gale Array. Whoosh! Beneath the shade of the forest, a gray figure flitted by. The moment a spiritual beast saw him, it would jump on him with greedy eyes. But the beast would ultimately fall to the ground lifeless with an extra fist imprint on its chest. The seventh elder's eyes turned darker, but his speed remained the same. Unlike Shuofan, his flight attracted no little amount of trouble. Yet this only left a trail of third-level spiritual beasts' corpses behind. He was lucky enough that he did not meet a fourth-level spiritual beast, or it would have been a slightly different outcome. Whoosh! Suddenly, he landed in an open area. He checked for tracks, making sure nothing escaped his sight. He, three little brats. Want to run? The seventh elder sneered. He stood upright and scrutinized his surroundings with a cold eye. Will you come out yourselves, or shall I drag you out? His yell bathed the trees in killing intent and scared off nearby spiritual beasts. Ha, I see the seventh elder is not without his reputation. No wonder you are called insidious demon, finding how many we are just from a few faint signs. I am in awe. Shuofan's laughter resounded through the air. The seventh elder frowned and paid closer attention. Kid, you have just entered the sixth layer of chi condensation. Good ears. The hidden Shuofan felt his heart go cold. This elder was shrewder than he'd thought, a hard opponent, but he still kept his cool. Seventh elder must be tired after such a long chase. And fighting here will attract fourth-level spiritual beasts. It will be quite an annoyance to you. What if we strike a deal? Which is? The seventh elder snorted and his cold eyes flitted around the area. Shuofan smiled. Seventh elder chased us for so long, all for the diamond sand. If we give you half, are you willing to let us go? You must be joking. The diamond sand was mine to begin with. You want to bargain with what you stole from me? The seventh elder laughed while being shrouded in thick killing intent. I will not only get my diamond sand but wring the life out of you brats. Then the elder rushed towards a lush tree. He struck it with his palm and made it explode, to reveal Shuofan sitting on the rock behind it. He, brat, you knew of my sharp hearing yet still talked about conditions with me. The seventh elder went for another palm attack, this time targeting Shuofan. But the latter was calm as ever. He even smiled. I've never been afraid of revealing myself from the start. Shuofan's hand shifted and... boom! With a loud noise, from behind Shuofan, a towering flame rose 50 meters high. And with a bird cry, it took the shape of a phoenix. It spread its wings and launched 2 fire pillars at seventh elder. Array. The elder was startled as he didn't foresee the weak brat would know about arrays. From the look of its power, it had to be in 5th grade. No longer careless, he struck the pillars with his palms. Boom! Raging flames exploded and the elder was thrown back with burned palms. Looking up, the elder's carefree eyes from before sported a hint of severity now. I took you lightly. The seventh elder squinted, never imagining a 6th layer of chi condensation youth was a 5th grade array master. Too bad it won't be enough to beat me. The seventh elder soared and made a sign. A fiendish demonic shadow rose behind him from the twisting black tendrils of energy. Wails echoed around him and made the temperature drop. Shuofan's eyes squinted and his tone lowered. Such a malevolent demonic method, is this from Hell Valley's inheritance? Why do the dead need to know so much? The seventh elder cackled and pointed. The demonic shadow rushed at Shuofan with a shriek. Shuofan responded with a hand sign. The fire phoenix cried and spat flames. Bam! Flames and shadow collided in an anticlimactic way. When the fire touched the demon, hissing was heard as if it was met with ice. The seventh elder looked proud of this while Shuofan squinted. Ninger, now. A faint cry echoed and from another side not far from Shuofan, a fierce gale hammered through the woods and exposed Xuanningsiang sitting on a stone. At Zhuo Fan's call, she made the hand signs he had taught her. A chilling wind picked up and flew like a blade as it fused into the fire phoenix's attack. The fire pillar expanded 10 times in a blink and started pushing back the demonic shadow. The seventh elder's face turned grave and made hand signs to strengthen the demonic shadow. But with the help of Xuanningsiang, Zhuo Fan was getting the upper hand and the seventh elder started sweating. He never saw it coming. Another person was controlling the array. But before he could think of a countermeasure, Zhuo Fan shouted again. "Xia Tianyang, he's yours." "Ha ha ha, I was waiting for this. See how I splatter the brains of a profound heaven expert." Under Xia Tianyang's incessant cackling, lightning burst and revealed him sitting on the other side of Zhuo Fan and across from Xuanningsiang. Xia Tianyang made a hand sign and launched a 50-meter-long lightning dragon. With a roar, it flashed right into the demonic shadow. Boom! As lightning entered the shadow, it triggered an explosion. The demonic shadow could not overcome the multiple increases in power and was blown into black pieces, soon becoming nothing but ash. The seventh elder spatted blood. This defied all logic. Today, 3 brats hurt him. But the brats were far from done and battered him with the thunderflame gale again. If he didn't do something now, he'd be heavily wounded, he may even die. The seventh elder braced himself and waved the centipede-like chain that suddenly appeared in his hand. Boom! The thunderflame gale attack was blown away as the elder took a few steps back. Zhuo Fan's side also shivered as each of them felt blood stagnating in their chest. It was a tie. 4th grade demonic treasure. Zhuo Fan turned serious. The seventh elder gasped and barked, "Good, well done. I've traveled the world for so long but today, 3 brats have reduced me to this state." He turned to Zhuo Fan, "I admit you're strong. If we continue, it will end with both sides dead. It's better to take your previous deal. Give me half of diamond sand and I will go." The 3 exchanged glances. Xuanningsiang and Xia Tianyang didn't want to offend Hell Valley and nodded. Zhuo Fan showed an amiable smile, "All right, let's make the deal." He then jumped off the stone. The seventh elder took back his weapon and flew towards Zhuo Fan. When they were 10 meters apart, suddenly both their eyes flashed with murderous intent. "Die, brat! Finish him!" Shouting at the same time, the seventh elder revealed his demonic treasure and flung it at Zhuo Fan while the latter made hand signs. The flames and the centipede chain clashed. Xia Tianyang and Xuanningsiang were startled. Even though they missed the first clash, they soon sent lightning and wind blade toward the elder. The seventh elder couldn't dodge and had to destroy their attacks with his chain once again, but he was also forced to retreat to the skies. Eyeing Zhuo Fan, the elder's face turned green and white from rage. "Bastard, who would believe you? He, takes a demonic cultivator to know one." Zhuo Fan smirked. Xuanningsiang and Xia Tianyang witnessed this in a daze. Who the hell are they? One is more despicable than the other. None of them is worth trusting. Both of them had only one thought since the beginning: kill. They're too damn vile, treacherous, insidious. Had one of them trusted the other, then their side would have died by now. This thought made the 2 gasp and their eyes darted at Zhuo Fan. Thank God we have one just as vile and insidious among us. Or we'd be dead for sure. Chapter 64, Bait. Chapter 64, Bait. I need to calm down first. The seventh elder took a deep breath and inspected the area with wrinkled brows. He found that the recovery of diamond sand was becoming a headache, and when he knew the trio ran into the second area, he confirmed it. With his experience, he could easily discover their meager cultivation. And with the highest among them being the 7th layer of bone tempering stage, it was no different than squeezing 3 insects. What was unbelievable though, one of them had a deep knowledge of arrays along with a cunning mind, unlike a rash and ignorant youth he posed to be. This led to the current predicament. With the three working together to control the array, he would never get the upper hand. However, he thought of something and his hawk eyes flashed sinisterly. "You are Shui clan's third young miss." The seventh elder ignored Zhuo Fan and switched targets, sizing Xuaningxiang with a smile. "I remember seeing you 5 years ago. You were just a child back then. My, how you've grown into a fine lady." Xuaningxiang's heart seized and lowered her head to avoid his piercing gaze. Zhuo Fan shouted, "Seventh elder, if you have something to say it to my face. Don't go around scaring girls." Yet the seventh elder's eyes never left Xuaningxiang. "Ninger, why do you bother going against me? Shui clan is a vassal of Hell Valley. We always took care of your Shui clan. And yet here you are, resorting to this." His eyes flashed with murder as he spoke. Xuaningxiang shivered and could no longer keep the hand sign up. Zhuo Fan knew that the seventh elder was threatening Xuaningxiang and rushed to say, "Attack." He and Xie Tianyang synced their hand signs, launching lightning and fire at the seventh elder. But Xuaningxiang was still in a daze, her hands trembling. Xie Tianyang thought, "Damn, Xuaningxiang is worried for her clan and has no will to fight. Without the wind's help, there'll be a sharp decline in power." The seventh elder was fighting a psychological battle, grasping the trio's weakness. Fire and lightning combined as it neared the elder, but his centipede chain just flew at it and the attack was nulled. The seventh elder stood still in the sky while Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang spat blood. "Ha ha ha, that's better." The seventh elder cackled, "Ninger, you made the right choice. These brats will wash their hands over this and leave from here, while your clan will stay forever." Zhuo Fan looked at the shivering Xuaningxiang and urged, "Ninger, don't listen to the old goat. He knows who you are and will destroy your clan either way. The only way to save the Shui clan is to kill him here and now. Remember my words, the Thunderflame Gale Array needs 3 people to work together, and as long as the 3 are in sync, not even a profound heaven expert can escape." Another shiver reached Xuaningxiang's frail body and now she stood still. The seventh elder's words scared her, but she had finally recovered. Zhuo Fan smirked and shouted, "If this old coot lives, your clan is no more." Boom! His words echoed in her ears and Xuaningxiang rose her head to show killing intent for the first time as she muttered non-stop, "He can't leave. He has to die, he must die." Xuaningxiang roared the last word and completed the hand sign. A green panther roared behind her and sped towards the seventh elder, 10 times stronger than before. The elder panicked, noticing the true power of the array in Xuaningxiang's hands. "From the start, the 2 brats used all they had in fighting me, yet she hadn't." Xuaningxiang was a kind and gentle soul, not willing to kill even her enemy. But the seventh elder's words struck a chord in her frail heart that she was close to losing her will for fighting. It was then that Zhuo Fan woke her up and lit a fire in her. The dissonance in her heart led to unleashing her full power. To protect her clan, Xuaningxiang turned cold and unfeeling like a reaper. She was willing to do anything and everything to make sure the old geezer died here. Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang smiled and launched their own attacks. Fire, wind, and lightning combined at their strongest into an overpowering strike that threatened to consume the seventh elder. Even the calm and collected seventh elder was starting to feel fear. He hastily lifted the centipede chain and lashed. Boom! A huge explosion shook the entire second area and even the sky seemed to collapse. Some 4th-level spiritual beasts even fled. The seventh elder, who was caught in the middle, was blasted a dozen meters with his hair and beard singed as he spat blood. But this time, the blood evaporated before it touched the ground. It was proof of the intensity of the attack that pierced his inner organs. With such a heavy wound, just one more and he'd be done for. For the first time, the seventh elder panted with fear in his eyes. Not even he could foresee that the array needed just the girl to flip out for unleashing its full power. But he understood that he would not be able to take more of such attacks. He's on his last leg. Ninger, Xia Tianyang, get ready. We'll finish him off. Zhuo Fan laughed as he made another hand sign. But a sudden green panther beat him and Xia Tianyang to the punch. All Zhuo Fan saw was Xuaningxiang going crazy and making signs on and on as she raved, he has to die, he must die. Damn, this girl has lost it. I managed to spur her on, but now she is too far gone. Her only thought is to kill the old goat, even disregarding cooperation with her allies. Her action was limiting the array's power. The seventh elder noticed this weakness and smiled as he charged for Xuaningxiang. He was only facing a wind panther, and without the other two elements, he could breeze through it. With a swing of the centipede chain, the panther was no more. Quickly help Ninger. Zhuo Fan panicked as he formed hand signs alongside Xia Tianyang. Once again lightning and fire came at the seventh elder. Yet such lack of cooperation lost the array's advantage and the seventh elder dealt with it easily. He flung the centipede chain, removing this nuisance, and appeared before Xuaningxiang. But she sank in, making hand signs. The seventh elder snorted and clutched her neck, lifting her off the ground. Xuaningxiang began suffocating and her hands slowed down. Crazy girl, you almost had me killed. Consider yourself lucky since you still have some use, or I'd have killed you already. Ninger. Zhuo Fan and Xia Tianyang stood up with worry. The seventh elder mocked them, what are you brats called anyway? Sit tight, I will deal with you in a moment. Zhuo Fan clenched his fists. Cough, cough, cough. Xuaningxiang coughed, looking at Zhuo Fan with pleading eyes, kill him, don't let him harm my father. He, what a carrying daughter. You're still thinking about your father. Too bad these two brats have no way of killing me. Once I get back, I'll make sure to wipe the Shui clan for good. Tears glistened down Xuaningxiang's cheeks. Xia Tianyang's heart hurt and roared in anger, Hell Valley Elder, does one of your stature even know what shame is to raise your hand on a defenseless girl? There's no such thing as shame in a demonic cultivator's vocabulary. The seventh elder cackled and turned to Zhuo Fan, brat, you're just like this old man, stirring this girl's will to fight with a few words. I would have taken you as my disciple if not for us being enemies. You hurt my friend, so you must die by my hands. Zhuo Fan's tone was irreproachable, Xia Tianyang, get ready to strike. But Ninger also agreed, Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with a hard look. Xia Tianyang felt cold as he looked at Zhuo Fan, then saw the pleading eyes of Xuaningxiang and sighed. This old man must die, or he will slaughter the Shui clan and Ninger won't ever find peace, even in death. Xia Tianyang then yelled as he made hand signs. The lightning dragon roared as it encroached on the seventh elder. Zhuo Fan, with his red eyes, also shouted and the phoenix behind him spread its wings. This was the strongest power they managed to unleash through their cooperation. But to all this, the seventh elder's answer was disdain, humph, I have already figured out this array. Without wind, just you two are nothing. Xia Tianyang gnashed his teeth. Would our full power attack amount to nothing? Would we meet our end at his hands? Furthermore, Ninger's clan would be doomed. But Zhuo Fan revealed an evil grin, who said we lacked wind. His hands shifted through the signs and the seventh elder was swallowed by a tornado, turning his immediate surrounding into a wind prison. Then came the lightning dragon and fire phoenix. Boom! Fire and lightning mixed, erupting in a spectacular fashion on contact with the tornado, burning everything within into nothing. This display of power was twice as strong as their best attack. This time the elder should be dead. Xia Tianyang watched it all at a loss, how, what? How the wind appeared. Zhuo Fan smiled, unlike someone who just lost a friend, I told you before that I can't control the 5th grade array by myself and need all 3 of us to work together, right? Well, I lied. That 7th elder would have seen through you and I couldn't have deceived him in the end. What, all, was a lie, Xia Tianyang stammered. Zhuo Fan smiled, insidious demon is beyond sharp, he is Hell Valley's sage. If I fight him alone, defeat is certain. So I arranged for you 2 to work with me in controlling the array and help conserve power. But this wasn't without its weakness. Us 3 had to be in full cooperation to unleash its greatest power. Him being the insidious demon, he would find this out with ease and would target the weakest among us. It's clear Ninger is that person and he would attack her. But he would have never guessed Ninger was the bait I laid out for him. So, he fell right into my trap. Why you're saying that you had planned on giving up on Ninger from the start? Xia Tianyang gasped. Zhuo Fan felt like a stranger to him. He still recalled how Zhuo Fan yelled at Ninger, I won't leave anyone behind, his eyes filled with righteousness. Was it all an act? What's with that look? Zhuo Fan sneered, didn't you say to leave Ninger behind and flee, that she was a burden? I only thought of a more appropriate use of this burden. What of your promise to her? Xia Tianyang swallowed dryly, I heard you promised Ninger to take her outside the city. Zhuo Fan waved it off, the result's the same, be it living or otherwise. Seeing Zhuo Fan's casual manner, Xia Tianyang felt numb and a chill crawled up his spine. After working together for over a month, he had thought that he somewhat understood Zhuo Fan's character. But now it felt like he was talking to a stranger. Such sheer cruelty made him, a 7th layer of bone-tempering expert, feel more fear than facing a radiant stage expert. But laughter came from amidst the Thunderflame Gale prison. The 7th elder sneered at Zhuo Fan and pulled back the twisted needle into his elbow. Blood Infant collapsed and Zhuo Fan fell to his knees. His eyes were filled with dread. He couldn't believe he just lost. Bam! A sound was heard from the side. Xia Tianyang struggled for his life but the Yin chain lashed over his chest and he was now spitting blood. It was thanks to his spiritual armor that he was still breathing. Ignoring the rest, the 7th elder walked to Zhuo Fan calmly. Kid, I am known as the insidious demon. How can anyone outsmart me? The 7th elder watched the dying Zhuo Fan, you're good, real good. Your schemes even make me feel fear. In a decade or 2, you will become an outstanding demonic cultivator. Not even the number 1 sage in Tianyu can compare to you. A pity you won't live so long, because I am afraid of what you'll become. You are the first to ever make me feel this way. He was about to land the finishing blow, you might die at my hand, but do not feel bad. Our cunningness is about the same, but I am stronger. In front of true power, all tricks, all methods are moot. The 7th elder's palm came from above and Zhuo Fan could even hear the whistling wind. He didn't want to die, but he had nothing left to fight with. A loss was a loss, be it in power or cunningness. And the one to lose, died. But he had so many things he wanted to do. So what? The loser never had a choice to begin with. Closing his eyes, Zhuo Fan took one last breath and blacked out. Roar! A sudden roar shook the entire All-Beast mountain range and the 7th elder's palm stopped an inch above Zhuo Fan's head. Along with the roar, a wave of flames came to engulf everything. It swallowed trees and left empty husks behind. The 7th elder was startled. Looking towards the 3rd area, he said with uncertainty, why is this monster coming to the 2nd area? Taking another look at the hopeless trio, he gnashed his teeth and fled, even disregarding the diamond sand. A bird cry soon followed and the skies darkened. A huge bird wing trailed above, overshadowing the earth. The spiritual beasts shivered in their caves. The huge bird's wing burned blue, and each flap sent sparks everywhere. Wherever the sparks landed, flames torched all of it into nothing. The previously lush forest was now reduced to ash after the bird passed. Not even bones were left of the fourth-level spiritual beasts touched by the flames. The huge bird flew for a while then left, but the forest beneath it was no more. Zhuo Fan and the other two were lying unconscious among the ashes. Some spiritual beasts passed by, but finding them dead, they left. In fact, it was thanks to the energy-concealing pill that hid their auras. Cough, cough, cough. With a light cough, Xuanning strained her eyes open, but shock swept her heart. Why is the forest gone and only ash remained? The seventh elder couldn't have done this. She looked around in haste for Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang and saw them lying unconscious. Zhuo Fan had the most critical injury, bleeding from the hole in his chest. He wasn't too far from breathing his last. Chapter 66, Guilt. Chapter 66, Guilt. Brother Zhuo. Xuanning was on Zhuo Fan with a cry and turned him over to see the fist-sized wound in his chest which went all the way through his back. His face paled by the second and his temperature dropped. Tears welled in Xuanning eyes and fell along with her anxious voice, "Brother Zhuo, wake up, wake up." Perhaps it was the soft tears or the incessant shouts grating on his ears that made Zhuo Fan crack his eyelids. "Brother Zhuo, you're awake." Xuanning was glad. Zhuo Fan moved his lips but was too weak to even let out words. Watching her tear-stained face, Zhuo Fan took a deep breath and squeezed his last drop of energy into pointing, but his hand soon fell limp. Xuanning caught his gesture and saw Blood Infant in a pool of blood. "You want me to bring it over?" she asked. Zhuo Fan blinked weakly, the only thing he could do in his current state. Xuanning thus marched to Blood Infant and was soon back with it in her arms. She then placed it on the hole in Zhuo Fan's chest. Blood Infant flashed red and was back in Zhuo Fan's body. He let out a breath as his complexion started improving slightly. His and Blood Infant's lives were shared, so much so that its wound was far more important than his own injury. As long as Blood Infant was fine, him suffering heavy wounds would matter little. But now Blood Infant's life hung by a thread. Without his blood essence, he could only keep it alive for a short while longer. He was in a worse condition too and had no way to save it. But as Blood Infant was kept alive, a bit of energy returned to him. "Be blood," Zhuo Fan whispered hoarsely. Xuanning paused a moment, then cut her wrist with a dagger and brought her hand to Zhuo Fan's lips. The girl's blood dripped in Zhuo Fan's mouth and he slowly recovered a bit more energy. Xuanning let out a relieved sigh and even sported a faint smile. But Zhuo Fan suddenly bit her wrist, sucking the blood out. Xuanning braced through the pain and let him have his fill. Time passed but Zhuo Fan's appetite didn't drop. Xuanning face paled and was even getting woozy. She knew it was from the blood loss, but she didn't stop him. When Zhuo Fan finally let go and gasped for fresh air, he saw Xuanning pale countenance and felt complicated. "Thank you." Zhuo Fan now had the strength to speak, thanks to the blood. Xuanning smiled. She was feeling weak but her smile looked mesmerizing to Zhuo Fan. Recalling his previous act, his heart began to feel guilt. With a thought, a blue bottle flashed in his hand. "Ninger, these are third-grade heart-protecting pills. Give me one, you take the second and give the third to the kid if he isn't dead." Xuanning nodded and fed the first pill to him. She checked Xie Tianyang and found him alive. Excited, she fed him a pill but saved hers. Zhuo Fan was laid on the ground but his heart was clear. "Ninger, you are also hurt. Why aren't you taking it?" Ninger shook her head. "It's only a scratch. This pill is too precious and it's better used on you too." "Ha ha ha, not in the least. It came from Veiled Dragon Pavilion anyway, so don't worry." Zhuo Fan smiled. He came to Allbeast Mountain Range prepared, not only in spirit stones but also in pills. Since the imperial family in Veiled Dragon Pavilion were providing the Luo clan with stuff, he had everything besides the truly rare pills. Some of his pills were something not found even in the entire Tianyu Empire, refined by yours truly. I didn't think I'd use them so fast. Ninger, take it, it's yours. A snort came and Xuaningxiang turned towards Xia Tianyang. He was also worse for wear, not life-threatened like Shuofan, but he couldn't move still. He would need 3 to 5 months to heal. Shuofan couldn't budge but neither could he. Even so, his fear of Shuofan wasn't that high and said with a clipped tone, Ninger, this big brother Shuo wanted to use you as bait from the start. This is his just deserts. When Shuofan exposed his plan, she was already unconscious in the Thunderflame Gale prison explosion. But hearing it now, she was startled and looked at Shuofan with the hope that he'd deny. She refused to believe that Brother Shuo, who stood by her side for over a month, would be so cruel as to throw her away. She hoped this was a misunderstanding, that Shuofan would refute Xie Tianyang's claims. But Shuofan remained silent, and his cold eyes refused to meet hers for the first time. With tears welling, Xuaningxiang forced her sorrow down, but her heart felt like being stabbed with a knife. She didn't realize when, but Shuofan meant a lot to her. She didn't feel hate for being cast out, but pain. Sensing her pain, Shuofan hesitated, Ninger, It's fine, you don't need to say anything. Xuaningxiang wiped her nose and forced a smile, I know Brother Shuo is brave and smart, that all went according to your plan. I'm sure it's a misunderstanding. She whipped her head around and left, I'm going to look for branches and make a stretcher. We can't keep staying here. Watching her walk away like nothing had happened, Xia Tianyang rose an eyebrow, Hey, Ninger, you're going to forgive him just like that? He is hurt and can't move. Now's your chance for revenge. Yet Xuaningxiang didn't return. Xia Tianyang wanted to yell again but then Shuofan's snort came, zip it. If you want to die, just ask. Humph, you have it worse than me, let's see you try. Xia Tianyang put up a tough front but fear gnawed his heart because of the naked killing intent laced in Shuofan's words. Seeing with his own eyes how Shuofan had fought the seventh elder, he knew the horror Shuofan could unleash. Despite losing, Shuofan played with that insidious demon to such a state. He felt both fear and hatred towards Shuofan. Hate for his unfeeling heart to his friends and fear from his cunning mind. But then a new feeling triumphed them both, something the genius disciple of Sword Marquis Abode never felt before, awe. Xuaningxiang was soon back with wood and made 2 stretchers. When she placed them both on each, Shuofan wanted to apologize but swallowed his words when he saw her avoiding him. Rumble. With a thunderclap, the rain started pouring down on the ashen forest and helped the saplings grow. Xuaningxiang tied the stretchers with rope and trudged through the mud. Because of the heavy rain, the rough mountain path, and the blood loss, she fell down again and again. But she pressed on like a machine, dragging them ever forward. The 3 never spoke a word the entire time. Even Xie Tianyang's complaints about taking revenge fell silent. The 2 felt worse and worse the more they saw Xuaningxiang's pale face as she pulled them. Xie Tianyang was the first to mention casting her away for being weak. Shuofan went a step further by rejecting the idea in a dignified manner, only to throw her out as bait not much later. And now, the 2 were in dire straits, useless for months to come. But Xuaningxiang's heart remained steady and firm, never abandoning them. The 2 felt heavy in their hearts from the huge debt they had for her. How can we ever repay it? On the muddy and slick mountain road, a bump appeared and a burrowing mouse revealed itself. It ran toward Xuaningxiang as soon as it came out. Now that she saw the little guy, her smile came back on her face, since losing it when she found of Shuofan's betrayal. Afraid of Critter's suffering, she drove it away before their fight with the 7th elder. But now it came back. The little guy was jumping around her leg in joy then skipped ahead of her. Xuaningxiang guessed that it was showing the way and dragged the stretchers to a cave. Happy, she pulled the two people into the cave for sheltering from the rain and healing their wounds. But Zhuo Fan looked around once and shouted in panic, "We can't stay here, we have to leave now." Chapter 67, Heaven-Shaking Roar. Chapter 67, Heaven-Shaking Roar. Xuaningxiang turned to Zhuo Fan with a start. Zhuo Fan spoke while gazing at the weeds around the cave, "That is soothing grass. That's perfect, it can help relieve fatigue." "What is wrong with that?" Xie Tianyang asked. Zhuo Fan said annoyed, "That's true for humans, but for spiritual beasts, it has a calming effect that attracts nearby spiritual beasts." Xie Tianyang was anxious, "That means, trap." Zhuo Fan nodded, "Yes, a trap made by predators. The burrowing mouse was drawn here and led us right to it. Curses, you can just bury your head and run, but we'll have to suffer. Why had I taken you in any way?" Xie Tianyang snapped at the critter. He wasn't as brash usually, but he was now hurt and powerless to resist an attack. In this grim state, falling in a trap was the last straw. To escape from the seventh elder yet die in a beast's trap was something this genius disciple couldn't accept. The burrowing mouse squeaked a few times with a lowered head. Xuaningxiang hugged it to her chest and spoke softly to Zhuo Fan, "What do we do now?" She had ill feelings towards Zhuo Fan, but she always turned to him for help when the going got tough. "What else?" "Run." Xie Tianyang cut him off. Zhuo Fan asked hastily, "What time is it?" Xuaningxiang looked outside the cave, but the rain clouds blocked the sky. She shook her head, "I'm not sure, a day must have passed by now." "Damn." Zhuo Fan said gravely, "The energy-concealing pill must have worn off and we are now easy targets. I'm guessing beasts must be coming here in droves." "What?" Xie Tianyang jumped, "You said, droves?" Zhuo Fan nodded, "The truly strong spiritual beasts don't stoop so low to use this trick. Only low-level spiritual beasts place traps and move in packs." Just then, along with the sound of rain, roars of beast echoed, and several pairs of cruel eyes fixed on the cave's mouth. A rough look would spot around 1,000 heads. Bloodthirsty wolves. Zhuo Fan sighed, "We're finished." Bloodthirsty wolves are second-level spiritual beasts, but with their numbers, they must have a third-level wolf king among them. Not even a fourth-level spiritual beast would dare to mess with them. Xie Tianyang saw the faint green eyes getting ever closer. "Woe is me. Heaven must be jealous of my outstanding talent and wants to pluck me." Xuaningxiang looked worried while Zhuo Fan had his trademark unflappable expression. "Xie Tianyang." Zhuo Fan said, "Give your sword to Ninger." "Ninger?" Xie Tianyang didn't understand. "My star sword may be a fourth-grade spiritual weapon, but Ninger is in the qi condensation stage. It's not enough to deal with those savage beasts." He spoke of the difference in cultivation and leveled his eyes at Zhuo Fan. "She isn't like you, fighting bone tempering and profound heaven experts while in qi condensation stage." Zhuo Fan smiled, "Ninger won't be fighting the beasts, but escaping their encirclement." He took out a bottle from his ring but didn't have the strength to lift it. "Ninger, take this energy-concealing pill." Zhuo Fan spoke calmly, "Use it to leave all Beast Mountain range once you break the encirclement, but don't go to your clan. Leave the city." Xie Tianyang now understood Zhuo Fan's plan. So he too took out his star sword. Their debt to Ninger was too great, and at this point, they were nothing but dead weights. Seeing their firm gazes, Xuaningxiang took the sword and ran outside. Both Xie Tianyang and Zhuo Fan revealed a smile, feeling a weight being lifted off their chests. "This way, we can repay her kindness. Even if we die, we can do it free of regrets." Xie Tianyang mumbled. Zhuo Fan spoke blandly, "I don't care about returning favors, just felt unwilling to die like this. I just don't want this girl to keep looking after me." "Humph, how cold-hearted. Xia Tianyang snapped. After that short banter, the two were at peace, waiting for the bloodthirsty wolves to devour them. But then wails came, followed by blood splattering on both of them. When they looked towards the mouth of the cave, they were shocked to see Xuanlingxiang standing guard at the entrance. Some bloodthirsty wolves were circling around trying to enter but were cut down by her. With her standing guard and this being the only entrance, the wolves were kept at bay. "Ninger, what are you doing?" Xue Fan shouted. Xuanlingxiang slashed and 3 more wolves fell. She looked back with a shy smile. "See, with me standing here, they will never get in." "Idiot, those are nothing but cannon fodder. The Wolf King wouldn't care if they died. He's trying to tire you out before killing you." Xue Fan cursed, but his eyes were filled with worry. Xuanlingxiang smiled. "That Wolf King is a beast uncaring for his pack, but you are my most important friends. I won't abandon you." She killed another 2 incoming wolves. Because of the blood loss and the fatigue of carrying the 2, she felt weak and pale. She was shaking with the wind and seemed like she might collapse any second. Yet her eyes were headstrong. Xuanlingxiang slashed, again and again, piling wolf corpses at her feet in a pool of blood. Her brows were drenched, her breathing haggard, her arms numb, but her back remained straight against the incoming storm. Watching her frail body, Xue Fan's eyes filled with warmth. He closed his eyes, not wishing to see the end as pain laced his heart. "Xue Fan!" Xia Tianyang yelled, "I just realized, we're both damn bastards." N. Xue Fan groaned a response. Xia Tianyang looked over to Xuanlingxiang braving outside and he also closed his eyes. "Ah!" Xuanlingxiang let out a cry as a wolf bit her wrist when her strength failed her. It then pinned her to the ground. Then another wolf pounced on her other hand. She wanted to get up and keep fighting but felt too weak to move. She had surpassed the limits of her body long ago and was now powerless to deal with 2 weak wolves. She couldn't even feel the blood flowing out from the bite wounds on her hands. Xue Fan and Xia Tianyang knew this was going to happen but kept their eyes closed. They wanted to be spared from the sight of the girl getting mauled. While 2 wolves pinned her arms, the rest were closing in as Xuanlingxiang's breathing grew faint. If they could, the 2 in the cave would have covered their ears. In celebration of a successful hunt, the pack howled and the Wolf King, 3 times bigger than the rest, strutted before Xuanlingxiang. Licking its fangs, the Wolf King howled and opened its maw to ravage Xuanlingxiang. With her eyes blacking out, all she could see were vague shapes. Xue Fan and Xia Tianyang still had their eyes closed. Roar! Just as the Wolf King was about to bite her, a sudden roar echoed from deep within the All-Beast mountain range. Xue Fan and Xia Tianyang blanked out the moment it reached them. The 1,000 bloodthirsty wolves pack collapsed one after the other, with only the Wolf King staggering from fear. But before it could retreat, a flame swept over the wolves, not even leaving ash behind. Even the Wolf King couldn't survive and disappeared from this world. Unbelievable enough, Xue Fan's party survived unharmed, though unconscious. Xue Fan. Xue Fan vaguely heard someone calling him and opened his eyes. What is with this foggy place? Where am I? He looked around. But then it occurred to him, he was heavily wounded, so how could he move? Suddenly, 2 blue flames ignited. It fused together to reveal a burning blue-robed figure floating high above. Is your name Xue Fan? I heard the 2 kids call you as such. The figure smiled. His voice fit a sturdy middle-aged man, but it wasn't clear from his appearance. Xue Fan was suspicious. Who are you? You don't need to know. The figure replied, this is my domain, and here, I ask the questions. Xue Fan, why have you come to All-Beast Mountain Range? The blue figure asked. Xue Fan thought for a moment, to capture a spiritual beast and make it my demonic creature. What spiritual beast? 6th level spiritual beast, Thunder Skylark. Why? Zhuo Fan's eyes swiveled. Why else, to increase my power. Boom. A loud noise resounded and Zhuo Fan felt like his head was about to explode. Ha ha ha, the figure laughed. Boy, we are inside your consciousness. It's easy for me to tell when you lie. Zhuo Fan looked at the figure in fear. He could enter others' consciousness on his own. Such power went beyond radiant stage, maybe even above the mortal domain. Are you, from the sacred domain? Zhuo Fan gasped. He never thought that it was possible to run into a sacred domain's expert in the mortal domain. The figure was also surprised that Zhuo Fan knew about sacred domain and nodded. You aren't normal to know of sacred domain, to apply ancient arrays, and refine the blood infant. Zhuo Fan was shocked to find that all his actions were monitored. This man even knew of blood infant. Matters regarding patriarch blood demon were decades old and very few people knew of them even in the sacred domain. If he hadn't stumbled upon the 9 Serenities secret records, he would be none the wiser. But, who exactly are you? I said it before, only I ask the questions here. The figure replied coldly, why do you want the Thunder Skylark? Speak the truth. Zhuo Fan was pensive, but found no way out. I want to go to Lightning Canyon and search for the Heavenly Emperor's remnant. For that, I need the Thunder Skylark to block the purple lightning. What? The blue figure never anticipated such an answer, but laughed in glee. Ha ha ha, good. Great even. That is a good place. You should definitely go. The figure vanished and popped right in front of Zhuo Fan's face. Zhuo Fan was startled but didn't pick up any bad intentions from him. The figure then tapped Zhuo Fan's forehead and a blue flame seeped in. Zhuo Fan only felt gentle energy from his forehead. Ha ha, boy, we are fated, so here's a gift. I hope you can help me in the future. The figure was gone but his words rang in Zhuo Fan's ears. You can find the Thunder Skylark 3,000 miles into the third area. Do your best to catch it. Zhuo Fan shrugged and perked an eyebrow, exasperating the self-entitled genius disciple. Xie Tianyang's lip quivered as he wailed in frustration, freak. Not for the life of him could he comprehend how Zhuo Fan was jumping around after having his life hanging by a thread just 2 days ago. Even he, a bone-tempering expert, would need 2 months of recovery to be able to stand. He was vexed enough knowing that Zhuo Fan was stronger than him, despite their realm difference, and better skilled than him, despite their differences in background. Now though, this damn punk showed a miracle, jumping back on his feet in no time at all. How can one even bloody compare? It's like being left light years behind. Zhuo Fan, tell me the truth. Who the heck are you? Xie Tianyang spat. Zhuo Fan lost his smile and patted Xie Tianyang's shoulder, human of course, though just slightly above average. Xie Tianyang was pissed off by Zhuo Fan's attitude. But his bad state didn't help him vent. And even if he could move, Zhuo Fan's array would just splatter him into pieces. This made bitter tears flow down his cheeks. A genius disciple's pride was crushed completely. Nonetheless, Zhuo Fan moving about had its upside. He could set up an array to defend them. Xie Tianyang had nothing to say to that. It brought far more advantage with Zhuo Fan recovered than if it was him instead. His cultivation only helped protect himself in such a place, let alone others. Spirit stones flew out of his ring and Zhuo Fan set up an ancient first-grade concealing array. At that moment, the cave disappeared from this place and not even a 6th-level spiritual beast would find it even if they passed through. The trio could finally heal in peace. Xuaningxiang woke up 3 days later and was wild with joy knowing that they weren't dead. Then she wondered where those wolves went and why they didn't eat the trio. Xie Tianyang was unclear about this too, but Zhuo Fan frowned, finding it tied to the expert he met in his consciousness. It was in this manner the trio recouped for 3 months. Zhuo Fan was back to full health while Xie Tianyang could now exert 70% of his power. Xuaningxiang recovered long ago and spent her time playing with the burrowing mouse. Both of them were happy seeing her smile again, thinking of her like a little sister. Xuaningxiang too started to feel more dependent on the two. Whoosh! 100 meters away from the cave, Xia Tianyang hacked a rock as he smiled toward Xuaningxiang not far away. He clearly recovered to 80%. Xuaningxiang clapped excitedly alongside the burrowing mouse. Zhuo Fan walked over with a smile, nice power you have there. You should enter the 8th layer of bone tempering stage soon. Didn't you also enter the 7th layer of qi condensation after your wounds healed? Xia Tianyang clipped, besides, Zhuo Fan, how can your eyes be that good? To detect me breaking through before I do. Xuaningxiang waved her hand to placate them, why are you always arguing when you meet each other? You weren't like this before. Isn't it his fault? Xia Tianyang stuck out his chest and cursed Zhuo Fan, after all this time, I still can't forgive this brat for using Ninger as bait. How can I not be pissed? What arguing, I'm itching to give him a beating. Pot calling the kettle black. Who was it that said to dump her and stall the 7th elder? Zhuo Fan countered. I never. Xia Tianyang was at a loss, but soon recovered his courage. I didn't know Ninger was so great, alright. Moreover, it's far better than being used as bait. I'm a demonic cultivator. It's normal to be more immoral than a righteous cultivator like you. Immoral? You're a bloody criminal by comparison. Seeing Zhuo Fan and Xia Tianyang quarreling over her, Xuaningxiang gestured for them to stop. Come on, don't argue, it's all in the past. I don't care anymore, so why are you bringing it up? No, I want to give you justice. Xia Tianyang grabbed her shoulders while glaring at the smiling Zhuo Fan. It's all right, we are friends who braved through life and death together. It's water under the bridge. Xuaningxiang showed a smile at the two and extended a pinky. Xia Tianyang smiled wryly and was hesitant in extending his pinky, but he did nonetheless. He was followed by an indifferent Zhuo Fan. The three pinkies touched and they started to feel warm and fuzzy inside. Xia Tianyang, I'm afraid I can't take her out of the city. Help her in my stead. Brother Zhuo, where are you going? Xuaningxiang felt nervous. Zhuo Fan replied with a determined tone, the 3rd area. What? Xia Tianyang and Xuaningxiang shouted, at first we wanted to avoid the 7th elder by going there, but why would you still want to go? Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with guilt, to be honest, it was my objective from the start. I wanted to go together because, you were useful. Bastard, you wanted more baits. Xia Tianyang cursed. Zhuo Fan nodded, yes, so if you don't want to die, run along. The farther from me the better. As he replied, Zhuo Fan turned to leave. Wait. Xuaningxiang pulled his hand with a shy smile, Brother Zhuo, if you don't consider me as a burden, take me with you. Even if I were to become bait, it is all right as long as I can stay with you. Zhuo Fan was startled and his heart throbbed. Xia Tianyang advised, hey, Ninger, this guy's no good. But Xuaningxiang's gentle eyes only had Zhuo Fan in them, and so Xia Tianyang also reluctantly chose to put his hands together with theirs. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, you too want to follow me? Yes. Xia Tianyang felt lifeless, but don't misunderstand, I'm not coming to help you but to make sure you don't betray Ninger. Zhuo Fan smiled. With how smart you are, I might go and betray you both. But he didn't voice it, meeting the two of them could be considered as his fortune. Friends in life and death were hard to find. Chapter 69, Savage Clash. Chapter 69, Savage Clash. The forest in Allbeast Mountain Range's 3rd area was so thick it blotted out the sun. It was also packed with vicious spiritual beasts that roared at any passing moment. It painted such a gruesome picture that struck terror in any who were intent in setting foot inside. Suddenly, a low bush stirred despite the lack of wind. Zhuo Fan's party stuck to the ground as they crawled, making use of the bushes as cover. They did take energy-concealing pills, but unlike the previous areas, if any spiritual beast saw them here, it spelled doom. As such, this was the only viable way to advance, moving at a crawl 3,000 miles inland. With each roar and cry, fear struck, soaking their brows with sweat. Blast it! We'll never get anywhere crawling like this. After half a day of wiggling through 10 miles, Xia Tianyang complained and sat with arms crossed, I'm not doing it anymore. It's too lame. Besides, you think a 5th-level spiritual beast lies at every corner? Fool, get down before it's too late. Zhuo Fan cursed. Xia Tianyang smirked in disdain, how will that help? With how tall the fauna is here, you think they'll spot us at a glance. Roar. In reply to his disdain, a reverberating roar deafened the trio. They turned to see 5 towering trees being pushed to the ground. A 50-meter-tall black bear appeared. Seeing its meal, the black bear roared with bared fangs and bloodthirsty eyes. 4th-level spiritual beast, Mad Storm Bear. Zhuo Fan cried as the trio shook in fear. Xia Tianyang was even rooted in place. Before the bear could jump on its prey, a tail thick as a bucket coiled around its body. The bear was squeezed and thrown into the heavens above as its pitiful cry grew faint. When it came back down, a maw opened wide and swallowed it whole. As the maw closed, blood sprayed in the surroundings, forming a pool beneath it. Even Zhuo Fan felt a shiver of fear. That was a 30-meter-long python with a scarlet crest and rock-hard scales. Its cold eyes flashed, on the prowl for the next meal. 5th-level spiritual beast, Diamond Crest Python. Run! Zhuo Fan yelled as he sped up his crawling, and the other 2 worked to catch up. Even Xia Tianyang disregarded his sorry state and crawled with them. He came face to face to the horrors of this area. One slip and he was a goner. It was plainly obvious why even a radiant stage expert would die here. When the Diamond Crest Python ate the bear, because of its bulk, it didn't notice the trio and left after its meal. Damn you, Zhuo Fan. I must have been insane for agreeing to come with you to this hell. Xia Tianyang worked his all not only to crawl but also to complain on and on, afraid he would soon lose his life without venting. He was on the verge of tears. He had heard this place was savage, but not to this extent. If he'd try to even stand taller than waist height, he'd soon find danger setting its sights on him. Zhuo Fan mocked, no one told you to come. Why don't you crawl your way back? Xia Tianyang was looking at the sky. Curses, the sun is setting. Nocturnal spiritual beasts will be on the hunt soon, and crawling won't work against them. I'll be dead in a second. Better stick to Zhuo Fan. He would set up an array and no spiritual beast would wander in. Annoyed, Xia Tianyang had an edge in his voice, since I'm in the same boat as you, once I wander back it will be plain suicide. Zhuo Fan and Xuaningxiang shook their heads. Then the trio's schedule was crawling by day and ducking under an array at night. And after a month they finally crawled through 3,000 miles till their limbs and waist went sore. The good news was that the closer they got, the fewer the spiritual beasts spotted. Zhuo Fan knew they entered the territory of those 6th-level spiritual beasts, where no weaker beast would dare step a paw in. In the 3rd area, 6th-level spiritual beasts were kings. If they found some oblivious beastie wandering into their domain, they'd chase it even for 1,000 miles, all to preserve a king's dignity. Especially if humans were involved. Stretching and exhaling, Zhuo Fan felt a bit better. Despite his relaxed manner, Xia Tianyang had his eyes peeled as he cautiously rose to his feet. We can stand here. Zhuo Fan nodded with a smile. On our way here, there were too many eyes and ears on the lookout for any movement, so we crawled to avoid the spiritual beasts. Here though is the domain of 6th-level spiritual beasts. Hiding will be much more effective than crawling in this place. Xie Tianyang finally found safety for the first time in a month and smiled, so it's much safer here than other places. Zhuo Fan arched an eyebrow, you can say that, but we'll die even faster bumping into a 6th-level spiritual beast. Xie Tianyang's smile vanished and his tone held some bite, then what the hell are we doing here? Tame them? How? Zhuo Fan smiled with confidence. He had considered this point a long time ago. He came to such a deadly place as the third area with a plan. He only needed to slip a bloodworm into the Thunder Skylark and all was well. But the problem was how. Rumble. Zhuo Fan was cooking up a plan when a sudden noise shook the world. The trio felt the earth shaking beneath their feet. They blinked in shock. This had to be from another devastating clash of spiritual beasts. But throughout their crawling, never had they heard a sound so loud. Not even when 2 5th-level spiritual beasts fought. There could only be one answer. 6th-level spiritual beasts. They shouted in unison. It seems to be coming from that direction. Zhuo Fan ran straight for it while Xie Tianyang yelled nervously, those beasts will tear you to pieces. Zhuo Fan smirked. If one of them was the Thunder Skylark, it'd be perfect. He'd lay in wait and make use of the perfect opportunity to strike. Xuaningxiang remained quiet and followed him closely. Wherever Zhuo Fan went, she would be close by. So, Xie Tianyang had no choice but to join them. 15 minutes later, the trio heard a thunderclap in the sky and the roaring flames. The three huddled behind a large rock in a small valley and peeked above. But the sight took their breath away. 2 spiritual beasts flew high up, both 6th-level spiritual beasts. One was a deep blue-colored bird with a 15-meter-long body and a wingspan of 20 meters. Lightning traveled along its body as it cracked the air. Despite being smaller in size, even compared with a 5th-level spiritual beast, its every wing beat covered the sky in lightning and wind blades that struck the rocks in the valley to pieces. A 5th-level spiritual beast would be crushed by such display. Thunder Skylark. Zhuo Fan squinted. He didn't lie to me. Thunder Skylark's nest is here. He then turned to the other spiritual beast. It was a flying lion wreathed in scarlet flames. Its mane was on fire and it had 30-meter-long wings of flames, half as long as his body. A flap of its wings sent fire to engulf the skies and burn the whole valley to a crisp. 6th-level spiritual beast, Flaming Lion King. Zhuo Fan's heart tightened. The Flaming Lion King was as powerful as a 7th-level spiritual beast, putting the Thunder Skylark at a disadvantage. He had thought that if the Thunder Skylark was tangled with another 6th-level spiritual beast, he'd play the fisherman and make the bird swallow a bloodworm during the confusion. Pity that it was facing Flaming Lion King. The Thunder Skylark would likely be defeated and killed. But wouldn't that bore a large hole in his plans? No, I have to help it. But how? This savage battle is no different than a Radiant stage expert's fight. Getting involved will only get me killed. Boom! As Zhuo Fan was musing a plan, the two beasts clashed again. Flaming Lion King spat a fireball while Thunder Skylark sent a thunderstorm with a flap of its wings, intending to crush it. But then, Flaming Lion King rammed its huge body into the frail Thunder Skylark. The bird cried out and tumbled around in the air. Zhuo Fan secretly sighed. Sure enough, the Thunder Skylark was just as adept at using her attribute like the Flaming Lion King, but her body lacked power in contrast. It would die if this went on. Big Brother Zhuo, can you help the poor birdie? Xuaningxiang turned her puppy eyes to him. Zhuo Fan was this close to spewing blood. Birdie? Well, it does belong to the swallow type, but it's a spiritual beast nonetheless. Regardless, just how exactly is that thing small? But Xuaningxiang's pleas echoed his thoughts. The Thunder Skylark must survive. Chapter 70, Divine Azure Flame. Chapter 70, Divine Azure Flame. Ninger, we can't just interfere in a battle of 6th-level spiritual beasts. Xuaningxiang felt regret the moment she spoke up. Over these few months, Xia Tianyang never refused any of her wishes. Ignoring the fact that our strength is not nearly enough, just from how fiercely these 6th-level spiritual beasts are clashing, one can tell it is not over food, but territory. You couldn't interfere even if they were people, not knowing who is wrong or right. We can't just risk our lives for them. Zhuo Fan lifted an eyebrow as he gave Xia Tianyang a deeper look. In the end, he comes from the 7 houses and knows what battles between great powers implies. If I didn't need the Thunder Skylark so badly, I wouldn't get involved either. But Xuaningxiang's expression was filled with worry, but that birdie isn't fighting over territory, it's to protect her young. Zhuo Fan looked again and saw a nest below the Thunder Skylark holding 5 huge eggs. Flaming Lion King was powerful enough, but the Thunder Skylark's speed was astonishing. It could leave just like that if it wanted to, but the Lion King caught it between a rock and a hard place, battering it again and again until it was filled with wounds, all because it was worried about harming her eggs. Now that Zhuo Fan got the whole picture, he hatched a plan to help the Thunder Skylark. She is one big mother. Zhuo Fan sighed, Ninger, worry not. See how I get that birdie out of trouble. Xuaningxiang became overjoyed while Xia Tianyang was skeptical. Hypocrite, since when were you so selfless? This guy has a callous heart and betrays his friends at a drop of the hat. Since when did he start sticking his head out for someone else, a savage beast no less? Oh, Xia Tianyang, how can you understand me? I am in fact a man with love in his heart. Wait for a bit, I will need your help soon. Screw you. If you have love, I'm a saint. Xia Tianyang retorted in derision, but then he said in shock, I got it. You want the Thunder Skylark. Zhuo Fan perked an eyebrow and nodded, ha ha ha, you've started using your head more since teaming up with me. Curses. I almost got used by you, again. Xia Tianyang spat, if you want to get the Thunder Skylark, leave me out of it. Zhuo Fan shrugged, then gave Xuaningxiang a long look. Xuaningxiang nodded and showed her doe eyes as she shook Xia Tianyang's arm, Big brother Xia, go with big brother Zhuo. The birdie and her young are so pitiful. Xia Tianyang felt like crying. The birdie is pitiful. One flap from it will tear me apart. Why aren't you feeling sorry for me? Lacking any choice in the matter, Xia Tianyang nodded. He was still feeling guilty for what happened to Xuaningxiang and would agree to any of her requests. At his nod, Xuaningxiang exploded into a sparkling smile and Zhuo Fan grinned at the side. Zhuo Fan, watch it. If you throw me away, I will make you pay. Xia Tianyang glared, but Zhuo Fan just shook his head, take it easy, when I use someone I make sure they won't ever get the chance to come back to bite me. What? Xia Tianyang exclaimed. Zhuo Fan just laughed and patted his shoulder. After warning Xuaningxiang to hide and not get discovered, Zhuo Fan and Xia Tianyang sneaked towards the eggs. The two were able to sneak thanks to the energy-concealing pill. As the beasts raged, lightning and flames collided, rocking the valley like a boat. Zhuo Fan and Xia Tianyang crept up cautiously below the raging storm. Each time the boom drew closer, it gripped their hearts in a vice and soaked their brows with sweat. One stray fireball or lightning could become the end for them both. Luckily enough, they reached the eggs without a scratch. Below the Thunder Skylark, it was both the most dangerous and safest place. While the heavens were swept by a storm, 2 bandits were making away with the entire nest from right under everyone's noses. Seeing this, Xuaningxiang sported a wide smile. Suddenly, Flaming Lion King gained altitude, breaking away from the bird while the Thunder Skylark kept a closer eye on its movements. As Zhuo Fan was carrying the nest, he found that the shadows on the ground were much bigger and that the sky had turned silent. Startled, he stopped and looked up. He was met with the large eyes of the flaming Lion King. He also noticed that the lion's eyes were ridiculing him. Zhuo Fan shouted in panic, "That savage found us, run." But the eggs, Xie Tianyang was nervous. "What eggs, just throw them." Ignoring Xie Tianyang, Zhuo Fan tossed the nest and the 5 eggs to the ground. Since they were spiritual beast eggs, they wouldn't break so easily. Startled by Zhuo Fan's yell, the Thunder Skylark looked in time to see her 5 young thrown on the ground and rushed in anger. Boom! Then, a ball of fire passed close to the Thunder Skylark. The flaming Lion King wasn't aiming for it but the 5 eggs. With a cry, the Thunder Skylark flew like lightning and used her body to block the fireball. Zhuo Fan let out a mental sigh. Not for Thunder Skylark's sacrifice, but the lion's cunningness. It knew that the Thunder Skylark was fast as lightning, which proved it difficult to land a heavy blow. But those eggs couldn't move and were the perfect means to cripple the Thunder Skylark's speed. Attacking what one defended was the best plan. The flaming Lion King laughed in glee and spat another ball of flame. Thunder Skylark used her lightning to stop it, but, with the eggs scattered, another ball of fire was closing in on another egg. Thus she was forced to fly all over to defend them. The flaming Lion King, which was hovering above, roared and sneered. "We made it worse. We hastened the Thunder Skylark's end." Darting back to Xuaningxiang, Zhuo Fan sighed. Despite not liking it, he spoke with determination, "Let's go. If we wait for Thunder Skylark to die, the crazy lion will come after us." Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang grabbed Xuaningxiang's arm, but she stood rooted to the spot, watching the Thunder Skylark darting to and fro as tears fell down her cheeks. Zhuo Fan sighed, he had no way to help the bird now. "Let it go, Ninger. We need to leave." Zhuo Fan furrowed his brows and urged, but Xuaningxiang shook her head. Boom! After fending off 24 fireballs, the Thunder Skylark let out a mournful cry and fell tired and wounded in a large crater. The flaming Lion King charged with its claw aiming for the bird's throat. No! Xuaningxiang broke away from the two's grasp and rushed to defend the Thunder Skylark. The cold wind from flaming Lion King's attack fanned her fine black hair. But her eyes remained unwavering. Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang rushed over, alarmed. Both forgot that they would soon be 2 more corpses added to the pile, that it wouldn't make a difference. Even Zhuo Fan lost his calculative mind. The 3 only knew to not abandon the other. "Ninger, I will accompany you in death." Xie Tianyang roared as he threw himself in front of her. Zhuo Fan flashed in front of the 2, but his eyes were fixed on the flaming Lion King. He was the demonic emperor. Even in death, he would stare down his enemy. "Dumb humans, your flesh won't stop this king's claw." The flaming Lion King opened its mouth and sneered. As its claw drew close, its killing intent made the trio shiver. But just when the claw was about to touch Zhuo Fan's face, an azure flame came out of Zhuo Fan's forehead and a shocking power shrouded the entire all-beast mountain range. The spiritual beasts were left shivering and lowered their proud heads. Even those fighting bent their knees. Flaming Lion King stopped its claw and watched the swaying flame as it trembled in fear. Chapter 71, Got an Egg. Chapter 71, Got an Egg. The azure flame was as small as a candle's, flickering in the wind in front of Zhuo Fan's forehead. But with each sway, the flaming Lion King's eyes shivered, as if it saw its end. It then took back its claw and sped away in the form of a ball of fire. It scampered off with speed rather than dignity, so much so that it was even close to falling at some point. A 6th-level spiritual beast, a king in the all-beast mountain range, was now fleeing like a kitty while trembling from every joint. Frowning, Zhuo Fan touched his forehead, but the azure flame had already hidden inside. He only felt a faint warmth and concluded that it was connected to the expert who had appeared in his consciousness and touched him there. Hey, Chua Fan, Xia Tianyang shook his arm as he questioned, be honest with me, are you absolutely positive that you are human? Cut the crap, what else would I be, a demon? Chua Fan slapped Xia Tianyang's hand away. I've never seen a human scare a 6th-level spiritual beast with just a look. Xia Tianyang took deep breaths to calm down and continued, did you see how scared it was when it saw you? As if afraid you would eat it whole. As brothers, you owe me an explanation. How many secrets are you hiding? Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes then turned to Xuaningxiang, we were never brothers. Xia Tianyang froze, then he showed an awkward smile. But he was becoming more and more curious about Zhuo Fan. Coming next to Xuaningxiang, they saw her tear-stained face as she looked at the thunder skylark. The lion didn't take its life but the birdie was too far gone to be saved. Unlike Xia Tianyang, she ignored the fleeing flaming lion king and inspected the birdie's wounds. It won't make it. Zhuo Fan sent his Yuan Qi to check its state then sighed. His plan on getting a thunder skylark went up in smoke. Big brother Zhuo, can you help her? Xuaningxiang looked at him with teary eyes but he could only sigh. As a demonic emperor, he had plenty of ways, but the current him was weak. Xuaningxiang began crying her heart out, tears falling down the thunder skylark's face. The bird opened its eyes and looked elsewhere. Xuaningxiang noticed and spotted an egg not too far. But the egg was burnt black. The thunder skylark gave its all before but was incapable of stopping every fireball. It wants her young. Let's go find them. Xuaningxiang cried. Zhuo Fan and Xia Tianyang searched around and soon gathered 4 scorched and lifeless eggs. Wasn't there one more? Xuaningxiang nervously asked. The 2 shook their heads. The last one was lost. They couldn't find it anywhere. Xuaningxiang was sorrowful, kneeling before the thunder skylark as she sobbed, forgive us, we are the ones who hurt you. The thunder skylark was always watching the 4 scorched eggs with teary eyes. Then, her eyes flashed and moved her great body. From below her, the last egg rolled out. It was intact but still had a few scorch marks on it. Zhuo Fan looked long at the thunder skylark and secretly nodded. Despite being forced to run around by the flaming lion king, it knew what it had to do. It made sure to protect one egg without anyone knowing. And when it collapsed, it used its body to hide the egg. So that even if it was killed, the egg would survive. It gave its life to protect its young. Thinking about this, Zhuo Fan developed a deep respect for the bird. With a cry, the thunder skylark stared at Zhuo Fan or, more specifically, his forehead. Then it turned to its egg with a hopeful gaze. You want me to take it? Zhuo Fan assumed. It nodded, eyes filled with warmth for the egg. Zhuo Fan picked it up and sighed, it is badly burnt and, even if it hatches, it won't live for long. Unless. He whispered the rest into the thunder skylark's ear. It was first startled then nodded in gratitude. Turning to her young, the thunder skylark closed her eyes in peace. She could now rest easy knowing Zhuo Fan would look after it. Xuaningxiang saw its life fade away and was crying her heart out. Zhuo Fan and Xia Tianyang sighed. They didn't foresee her being so compassionate even towards a spiritual beast. They would, at most hold some respect, but never be so heartbroken about it. Ninger, it won't come back. Don't feel too sad about it. Zhuo Fan consoled. Yeah, I never knew you'd be so compassionate towards this thunder skylark just after meeting it once. Xia Tianyang laughed dryly and scratched his head, not knowing how to comfort the girl. Xuaningxiang wiped her tears and knows, why you guys misunderstood. It is a sad birdie but I'm not crying for it. I was reminded of my home. Her appearance made me recall my dad protecting me every step of the way, taking care of me. The other 2 smiled dejectedly. It seems this girl was reminiscing. No wonder she was so touched. Since it's not for the bird, then I will take the Thunder Skylark's body. Zhuo Fan felt awkward as he stashed the body in his ring, but Xuaningxiang just nodded. Xia Tianyang, however, was aflame in anger. Hey, why do you get to have a whole 6th-level spiritual beast's body? A spiritual beast was a treasure in and of itself. The 6th-level spiritual beast bodies, in particular, made for great refining materials. Even the 7 houses seldom got such an item, and Xia Tianyang regarded it greatly. Looking askance at him, Zhuo Fan stated, "You saw it giving me its egg. Its body is the same. You stay here with Ning'er, I'll be right back." He left before Xia Tianyang could argue. Xia Tianyang wanted to follow Zhuo Fan, but seeing Ning'er, he stayed. He was worried for her safety. Leaving her all alone in the woods was not wise. Though it made little difference if he was there too. Whoosh! In a secluded spot, Zhuo Fan took out the egg, the Thunder Skylark's body, and some black rocks. He began circulating his yuan qi, and his hand burned scarlet. This was a cultivator's most basic yuan qi flame. Weak in battle, but useful in refining. And those black rocks were spatial stones used in making storage rings. These rocks were very rare even with all the spatial rock mines in control of the 7 houses and the imperial family. But thanks to Veiled Dragon Pavilion and imperial family endorsing the Luo clan, he got his hand on a few. And right now, he was planning on refining a beast-holding ring. It was far more complex to refine than a storage ring, and the great sects had a tight lock on any refining methods regarding them. Furthermore, it could even store spiritual energy. As spiritual beasts were nurtured by the spiritual energy of the world, they were the best ingredient for refining items. Case in point, this egg came from the Thunder Skylark, and its spiritual energy would help it recover. If not for this, Zhuo Fan was unsure if he could even hatch it. Now that the Thunder Skylark was dead, he desperately needed to hatch the egg and make it his demonic creature in order to enter the Lightning Canyon. For this, Zhuo Fan spoke a few words to the dying Thunder Skylark. And it agreed once it knew its broken body could help her young live. Either way, this was Zhuo Fan's way of showing his respect for the mother. Also, he would have taken this course of action regardless of her decision. Zhuo Fan pointed and the flame towered, fusing the ingredients with high-speed hand signs and a smile of satisfaction. He was close to fulfilling his objective. In the dead of night, stars glittered with Xuaningxiang and Xia Tianyang watching them bored out of their mind. As this was Thunder Skylark's territory, no 6th-level spiritual beast would wander here. It was the safest place for them. A sound broke the silence and Zhuo Fan appeared next to them. Xuaningxiang ran to him in glee as Xia Tianyang looked him up and down. "What did you do with the corpse?" Shrugging, Zhuo Fan was blunt, tore it in 8 and used it. Xuaningxiang was startled by his reply and Xia Tianyang rushed to placate her. "Ning'er, it's all right. The bodies of spiritual beasts are handled like this. But I don't know what he refined using it." Xia Tianyang knew Zhuo Fan was an array master and an alchemist, so being a refiner on top wasn't that far-fetched. As Zhuo Fan was gone for a day, he assumed Zhuo Fan had refined something. "Hey, did you know today is Ning'er's 16th birthday?" She was reminded of her family when the Thunder Skylark protected her egg and it made her cry. Zhuo Fan took a long look at Xuaningxiang, who was blushing with a lowered head. "Ha ha ha, since it's her birthday, then I will give her a present." Zhuo Fan revealed a ring that had lightning running across it. Then he took Xuaningxiang's hand and inserted the ring on her finger. "This is the storage ring I refined from the Thunder Skylark, Thunder Ring. I have one and you the other. They both are made as one, and are connected with each other." Zhuo Fan raised his hand and sparks flashed across his ring. Xuaningxiang was overjoyed inside and blushed as she extended her fist with the ring on it. Zhuo Fan did the same with his hand and the 2 rings let out crackling sounds. Xia Tianyang was filled with envy and roared, "Zhuo Fan, gee, give me one too. I'm out." Zhuo Fan deadpanned, is it your damn birthday too? No, but you have to give me one. Or, the two of you, a pair of rings. Xie Tianyang's face burned hot. He no longer cared about the value of the thunder ring, but that Zhuo Fan and Xuaningxiang wore a unique pair of rings. Seeing through him, Zhuo Fan sighed inwardly, we've been through thick and thin together, so of course, I have one for you. Zhuo Fan then tossed him a ring. Xie Tianyang put it on in glee, then made a fist bump with Xuaningxiang. Each of them got a thunder ring which would only react when another was around. Zhuo Fan spoke seriously, what gift did you give Ninger? Xie Tianyang started and scratched his head from having nothing of value on him. Suddenly, he turned to the burrowing mouse and pointed, Ninger likes playing with it, so I'm giving it to her. Get lost, it has long stopped being yours. Zhuo Fan jabbed. Xie Tianyang snapped in anger, isn't it all you're doing? The two began quarreling while Xuaningxiang stood content at the side with a smile. Absent-mindedly looking at the thunder ring, she wished the time would stop so that the three of them would stay worry-free. After a long night, they began their trek back first thing in the morning. But 10,000 miles out, a huge bird had its eye on each and every movement of theirs. Blue flames wreathed its body, and with every flap of its wings, it flew deeper into the All-Beast mountain range. Chapter 72, Shui Clan Patriarch. Chapter 72, Shui Clan Patriarch. The trio returned to the second area using the same method as before. Then they soon arrived at the first area. With the first step into safety, their hearts started easing up. Their thunder rings flashed with lightning from how close they were. All that's left is to leave Blue Expanse City and we'll be safe. Zhuo Fan looked in the city's direction with a smile. Although he didn't obtain the Thunder Skylark, he earned much more, its egg and two dear friends in life and death moments. Xuaningxiang however was frowning, worry plaguing her heart, but we offended the seventh elder. Won't he set a trap for us? Unlikely. Zhuo Fan stated, he must have spared our lives because another greater danger was looming overhead forcing him to flee. He must be thinking we've died at the hands of that scary thing. Thing, what thing? Xie Tianyang asked. Zhuo Fan only shook his head. He was out like a light at that time and was unclear what happened. But when he woke up he saw the destruction around him and came to this conclusion. As for why they were luckily spared, ask heaven. In any case, sneaking out of the city is easy. Zhuo Fan smiled, Ninger, what will you do after we leave? I don't know. Xuaningxiang turned gloomy, but then she looked up at Zhuo Fan, Big brother Zhuo, I'll just go with you. Zhuo Fan started while Xie Tianyang became flustered and said, Ninger, how about you come with me, to Sword Marquis's abode? Not only will your clansmen not come for you, but even Hell Valley's people wouldn't be able to take you from us. Xuaningxiang happily nodded, all right. Big brother Zhuo, why don't you also come? I've never seen the strong 7 noble houses of the Tianyu Empire. Xie Tianyang wasn't too pleased about it, but since Ninger was happy he also relented, Zhuo Fan, for Ninger, I will extend an invitation to visit my house as a guest. Zhuo Fan looked at them for a moment and shook his head, I cannot. I have other places to be. If fortune smiles, we will see each other again. The two were startled and hesitant about parting. Though Xie Tianyang and Zhuo Fan were like fire and water, arguing every day, they went through hell together and came out as brothers. Hey, I truly welcome you to my house. Think of your brother, me, and come. Zhuo Fan snickered, I already said, we aren't brothers. Sigh, how can you? As Xie Tianyang was about to laugh it off, a crack was heard and a sudden pressure pushed down on them, no one is allowed to leave. Whoosh! A black figure appeared with long black and white hair. His long goatee fluttered in the wind, and his eyes flashed as they landed on the trio. Profound heaven expert. Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang were startled and protected Xuaningxiang with their bodies. Is it an elder from Hell Valley? I've never seen him. Zhuo Fan and Xia Tianyang whispered. What was certain though, this old man wanted to wring them dry. But then, Xuaningxiang jumped out from between them and walked cautiously towards the man, grandfather. Xia Tianyang was stumped while Zhuo Fan asked with a frown, your Xue clan's only profound heaven expert, Xue clan's patriarch, Xue Dingtian? Turning a blind eye to the rotten kids in front, Xue Dingtian looked over Xuaningxiang, Ninger, where did you run off these months? I looked all over for you. Xuaningxiang hung her head in guilt and mumbled, sorry for worrying you, grandfather. Xue Dingtian sighed and tousled his dear grandchild's hair then spat, did any of these runts misbehave? Xuaningxiang knew where this was going and was embarrassed, Grandpa, what are you saying? Humph, then all is good. Xue Dingtian rolled his eyes over Zhuo Fan and Xia Tianyang, who was it that hurt my grandson, Xue Gang? Him. Xia Tianyang didn't miss a beat in exposing Zhuo Fan, I only met Ninger after. I never saw your grandson. Rolling his eyes, Zhuo Fan could only blame his poor luck and friends, I didn't know he was Ninger's brother, so, please forgive the offense, senior. Then, you eloped with Ninger? Xue Dingtian questioned Zhuo Fan. What, elope? Xia Tianyang cried with a start and grabbed Zhuo Fan by the clothes, Zhuo Fan, explain it to me. Since when were you so close with Ninger? Xue Dingtian glanced at Xia Tianyang and turned towards his granddaughter. Who is that kid, to be even more pissed than me? Xuaningxiang glared at her grandpa, then hit her flaming cheeks with her hands. Grandpa is getting old, how could he mention something like that out of the blue? She was complaining inside but her eyes sneaked a peek at Zhuo Fan. Wait, don't misunderstand. I only asked Ninger to show me the way and nothing else. Zhuo Fan gesticulated while shouting. Only then did Xia Tianyang stop. Xue Dingtian stared down Zhuo Fan but seeing no lies, he spoke, good, in that case, I won't be hard on you on account on your time with my granddaughter. Come, Ninger, let's go home. Xue Dingtian pulled her. But Xuaningxiang turned to the two behind her. Xia Tianyang was getting anxious, wanting to stop them. Wait! Zhuo Fan shouted. Xue Dingtian spoke in a cold tone, is there something else, runt? You can't take Ninger, said Zhuo Fan with a stony expression, and I advise you don't return either. Xue Dingtian frowned, what do you mean by that? I'll be frank. We offended the seventh elder of Hell Valley and he recognized Ninger. I can guess he's now getting rowdy in the Xue clan. If you go back now, you will die. Xue Dingtian was startled, then looked to see Xuaningxiang nodding shyly. As if thunderstruck, Xue Dingtian trembled and stumbled backward before falling. Xuaningxiang started crying and rushed to her grandpa, grandfather, forgive me. Xue Dingtian tightened his fist as rage swallowed his heart. Then his killing intent-filled eyes landed on Zhuo Fan and Xia Tianyang. It's you who brought this disaster upon us. As long as I take you to the seventh elder, he will spare us. Saying so, he slapped towards Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan's foot moved a bit making two of his phantoms appear near him. Then they immediately retreated in different directions. Xue Dingtian scattered the three retreating figures to dust with a wave of his hand but the real one wasn't among them. The next moment, Zhuo Fan came from behind Xue Dingtian and attacked with a bloody hand. Blood palm. Startled, Xue Dingtian felt his blood vessels boil. He now felt it on his own skin why his son and grandson had lost. Zhuo Fan wasn't only strong enough to skip stages, but also cunning and hard to fathom. Too bad he wasn't in the profound heaven stage like the old man. Xue Dingtian vanished before the blood palm could hit him, shocking Zhuo Fan. At the same instant, a powerful strike came from behind, and Zhuo Fan, who was unable to dodge in time, spat blood while flying. Xue Dingtian was about to pursue when a mystical sword intent came at him. It was Xie Tianyang wielding his star sword to strike Xue Dingtian's chest. As he looked at the approaching sword, the sky seemed to have calmed and he could only see the glittering sword moving. Profound ranked martial art. Xue Dingtian moved his foot slightly and disappeared, only to attack from Xie Tianyang's side with a palm. Xie Tianyang spatted blood and flew due to the impact. It was thanks to his spiritual armor that he wasn't heavily wounded. Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang staggered to their feet. A profound heaven expert's power wasn't to be taken lightly. Without an array, they had no chance. That brief exchange from before lasted but a breath and the outcome was a foregone conclusion. The two couldn't even touch a profound heaven expert. Chapter 73, Cauldron. Chapter 73, Cauldron. Stop, cried Xue Ningxiang. Xue Dingtian turned towards his granddaughter and was startled to see her in tears with a dagger at her neck. What are you doing, Ninger? Xue Dingtian became nervous. Xue Ningxiang spoke between sobs, Grandpa, let them go, they're my friends. If I do, then our Xue clan will be no more. Xue Dingtian stepped towards Zhuo Fan with hatred and killing intent. Grandpa, take one more step and I will be leaving this world before you. Xue Ningxiang nervously pushed the dagger closer to her throat. Blood began to trace the blade. Don't. Xie Tianyang was frightened, but Xue Dingtian gnashed his teeth and pressed on. However, Zhuo Fan noticed the tears in the old man's eyes. Zhuo Fan laughed, ha ha ha, Xue Dingtian, you've gotten senile. You think taking us to the seventh elder will save Xue clan? It will only hasten your downfall. What are you saying? Xue Dingtian stopped and stared at Zhuo Fan. Sneering, Zhuo Fan turned to Xie Tianyang, do you know who this is? He's from Sword Marquis's abode. By handing him over to the Hell Valley, you will make one of the 7 houses into your enemy. Do you think you can handle their wrath and prevent the downfall of your second-rate clan? Xue Dingtian became apprehensive, he spoke while scrutinizing Xie Tianyang, impossible, you are trying to play me. I would have known by now if someone from Sword Marquis's abode came to Blue Expanse City. 7 noble houses' disciples wander the world, so why should they report to you? Clear those muddy eyes of yours and take a closer look at his spiritual weapon, his martial arts. Are they common? Even in the 7 houses, such a masterful disciple is rare. A chill shook his very core and Xue Dingtian staggered back a few steps. He knew that was a 4th-grade spiritual weapon and the kid was using a profound ranked martial art. Who could wield both if not a man from the 7 houses? Having Xue Dingtian right where he wanted, Zhuo Fan drove in the last nail with a sneer, you want to take us back to Hell Valley when it's uncertain if they'll even accept us. But if they do, will the Sword Marquis's abode just let you go? Plop. Xue Dingtian lost all his nerve and collapsed in a shivering mess. The Xue clan was under Hell Valley, but never would they think to step between the conflicts of the 7 houses. If it ever happened, the Hell Valley would toss them in front as cannon fodder. Xue Dingtian began to feel mournful and lost. This year is a disaster for Xue clan. Do we have no other choice but to die at the hands of one of the 7 houses? He could take these runts with him, but he wouldn't want them now even if they landed in his lap. Why, young masters, forgive this old man's rash behavior. I was blind to young master's identity. Xue Dingtian squeezed through clenched teeth and crouched before them to kowtow 3 times. Everyone was dumbfounded, while Zhuo Fan just took it all in with a critical eye. Xie Tianyang couldn't quite accept it and rushed over. Forgetting the fact he was Ninger's grandfather, just being an aged profound heaven expert was enough to make Xie Tianyang unable to receive such a gesture. Would the profound heaven experts, elders in title, back at Sword Marquis's abode had to kneel too? But Zhuo Fan's hand barred his way. If you want to save Ninger, show off your status. Zhuo Fan whispered, to which Xia Tianyang nodded with a bit of startle. Grandfather, get up. Xue Ningxiang had never seen her grandfather so humiliated and rushed to help him up. But then Zhuo Fan yelled, "Who told you to get up?" Xue Dingtian shivered and was back on his knees with a red face. You. Xue Ningxiang was angry, but Xue Dingtian pulled her back. Zhuo Fan strutted before the old man and said in a clipped tone, "Do you know of our young master's eminent identity in the house? You heard him today and us, the Sword Marquis's abode, will not let this go unpunished." "Yes, I was ignorant in my offense." Xue Dingtian hung his head which was already full of cold sweat. "Humph, then we will take Ninger. If you want to get her back, have the Xue clan or Hell Valley come for her at Sword Marquis's abode." "Wait." Zhuo Fan was about to leave when Xue Dingtian grabbed his ankle. "It doesn't matter if Ninger offended the seventh elder, but she cannot leave. Or the Xue clan will be dead for good. I cannot accept it even if it means offending Sword Marquis's abode's young masters." Frowning, Zhuo Fan eyed him thoughtfully and saw the staunch resolve in his eyes. "Maybe. Ninger." Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with killing intent. He snatched Xie Tianyang's star sword and stabbed at the old man's chest. "No." Xue Ningxiang panicked and threw herself before Xue Dingtian, stopping Zhuo Fan's attack just in time. "Damnable and crazy punk." Xie Tianyang came to and took his sword. "I thought you were just scaring the old man, not being serious. He is Ninger's grandfather." Zhuo Fan spoke coldly, "If you were to choose who dies, who will you pick among the two?" "Of course it's," Xie Tianyang hesitated as he got caught in a dilemma. Xue Ningxiang didn't understand what was going on between her grandfather and Zhuo Fan. "Xue Dingtian, what do you need Ninger for?" Zhuo Fan spoke harshly. Xue Dingtian sighed, "I know that young masters like my granddaughter, but she is already betrothed to Hell Valley's young master. When she is 16 years of age, I will have to take her to them. Because of this, she has tried to run from home so many times. With how the time is nearing its end, if I don't take her, our whole clan will perish." Xie Tianyang asked, "Ninger, is this why you ran away?" Xue Ningxiang nodded sadly. Zhuo Fan watched Xue Dingtian's wrinkled face for any lies but found none, "So even you do not know for sure. If it's marriage then it's fine, but..." "But what?" Xie Tianyang snapped, "Ninger can't marry some random guy from Hell Valley. Come, follow brother to Sword Marquis's abode." "Xue Tianyang, this marriage is fake." Zhuo Fan shot him a glance then spoke to Xue Dingtian, "If it was about Hell Valley's marriage they would have come for her ages ago. But have you seen any girl getting married off to them coming back alive?" Xue Dingtian pondered then shook his head. "Hell Valley is one of the 7 houses, with proper rules and manners. Marrying with our second-rate clan already deserves heartfelt gratitude. What other reason can there be? She is ready to be wed to someone, and it's no longer our place to ask." "Haha, that's exactly what they want." Zhuo Fan cackled, "If I were to tell you that all the girls who got married to the Hell Valley's people died, what will you do? Will you still let Ninger go?" "What? Impossible." Xue Dingtian refuted, "Why would they do that? We've always been loyal to them. It is because you are so devoted that they chose you to raise a cauldron." Zhuo Fan declared. Everyone asked in shock, "What cauldron?" Zhuo Fan answered calmly, "There are some demonic cultivators who train in a cultivation method that utilizes ghosts of the people dying gruesome deaths. But too heavy grievance would lead to an imbalance in the yin and yang. This would increase the risk of oneself getting devoured by the ghosts. Therefore, the purest soul is needed as a foundation to train in it. And 16-year-old maidens are the best materials." "You're saying they want Ninger to train some art?" Xie Tianyang looked at Xue Ningxiang with worry. Zhuo Fan nodded, "Most likely. Do you remember the 7th elder's martial art? That profound ranked martial art wasn't trained to completion and was weak because the cauldron was lacking. You think he'd go easy on us on purpose? They all gasped at the cruelty of Hell Valley, which was using people as materials to practice arts. But Chua Fan couldn't care less. Demonic cultivators were selfish, not cruel or humane. Anything that killed one's opponent was most welcomed. He recalled that one time back in the sacred domain when an emperor stage expert cultivated this demonic method and killed 10,000 cultivators, the expert provoked the entire sacred domain's cultivators into an uprising against him. Even demonic cultivators rose the flag of righteousness, vowing to wipe such filth from the world. That was one of the rare occasions in which the two paths joined. Luck had it that Chua Fan was among them, witnessing this force on the move. He learned then not to incur public hatred if he wasn't the strongest. That was also why he trained in the dark after getting the 9 Serenities secret records. Even now, despite having the demon transformation art, which could raise his cultivation without a limit, he wasn't slaughtering left and right. If he'd get found out, he'd be the next target of both paths. Chapter 74, Flowing Metal Body Refining. Chapter 74, Flowing Metal Body Refining. The silence was deafening. It was so quiet that only cawing was heard. And even this noise only worked to darken the mood. Ningner. Xue Dingtian turned serious as he said, "If what this young master said is true, it's best if you leave." Grandfather, Xue Ningxiang looked at him in tears. Xue Dingtian smiled, "Don't worry, I'll go back and find out the truth. If it isn't like what this young master said, then I will come back to get you and proceed with the marriage." He ruffled her hair and flew away. Watching his departing figure, Xue Ningxiang sniffed in tears. "Big brother Xue, will my grandfather be all right?" Xue Fan's conjectures were always spot on and Xue Ningxiang wished to know her grandfather's fate. She wanted him to say her grandfather would be fine, that her clan would be fine. But Xue Fan shook his head. "I'm sorry, if he doesn't return, your clan still might live for a while. But now, all of them will die." Xue Ningxiang was shocked to the core and tears never stopped falling. Xie Tianyang began cursing to hide his sadness. "Hey, you're not that damn insidious demon's match in reading people, so how can you say they'll all die if he returns? I think a profound heaven expert would make the insidious demon think twice." "Humph, that is where you're wrong. I may not be as sharp as him when it comes to picking up one's intentions, but we are all humans, and I can tell a thing or two of his actions. First, we offended him, and since he determined the identity of Xue Ningxiang during our fight, he would think that the Xue clan betrayed Hell Valley. He is bound to kill them to the last woman and child. But at that time, old man Xue came to find Ning'er. In this case, Xue Fan paused then sighed, until he knew the whereabouts of the profound heaven expert, he would keep them alive to draw your grandfather. Once old man Xue returns, there will be nothing holding him back. Bullshit. A profound heaven expert is an elder in the 7 houses. I don't believe he has such nerve to slaughter a profound heaven expert's entire clan. Xie Tianyang saw Xue Ningxiang's expression turn darker and darker and roared at Xue Fan. Xue Fan shook his head, exactly because Xue clan has a profound heaven expert he would wait for Xue Dingtian to return before wiping them all off. In addition, you're wrong about something. A profound heaven expert is not strong at all, but a free one is. Why do you think he kneeled before us? He didn't do it for the 2 of us, but for the sword marquis's abode behind you. He didn't kneel for himself either, but for the Xue clan. If he were a rogue cultivator, free of responsibility, killing us would be a matter of fact. But, Xie Tianyang wanted to retort but found nothing to refute him with. He knew of this all too well, but the sorrowful look on Xue Ningxiang pushed him to find her some solace. But Xue Fan's words stabbed Xue Ningxiang's frail heart like a dagger. At this point, Xie Tianyang wanted to punch him. "All right, stop fighting. Xuaningxiang shouted, "Big brother Zhuo, I know what you said is reasonable. Tell me then, if I go back as a cauldron, can I save my clan?" Xia Tianyang was appalled. "Ninger, don't." Zhuo Fan looked her in the eye, but all he saw was an unwavering will and nodded. Even the magnificent and grand seventh elder of Hell Valley has no other way to train in that martial art. From this, it is obvious how much the Hell Valley lacks cauldrons. Doing this is likely to work, but there is no but as long as it works. Xuaningxiang waved and breathed out as if to get out all the worries off her chest. She was smiling, but the two felt their hearts heavy from the tears flowing down Xuaningxiang's cheeks. "Big brother Zhuo, big brother Tianyang, thank you for taking care of me these past months. We shall part ways, just that." Xuaningxiang sniffed. "I've never once gone outside the city, never seen Sword Marquis's abode. It's my only regret." She waved with a smile and left. Xie Tianyang's eyes were tinted red. They both knew what this girl was about to do. "Ninger." Xie Tianyang stepped forward, but Xuaningxiang's delicate voice reached them before he could take a second. "Please don't try to use force. I know I am not your match, but I will hate you for all my life and will never listen to you two again." Xie Tianyang fell to his knees and watched her distancing figure in pain. "Hey, Zhuo Fan," Ninger left. "Can she save Shui clan?" he asked gloomily. "For some time." Zhuo Fan shook his head, his face serene. Once Ninger's use as cauldron expires, Shui clan would have outlived its usefulness. "Why did you let her leave then?" Xie Tianyang bit his lip until he drew blood as his words were spoken with an edge. Zhuo Fan stared him in the eye. "At least Ninger will leave this world at peace, believing her clan will be kept safe." "Bastard!" Bam! Xie Tianyang stood up and punched Zhuo Fan's face and sent him 10 meters flying. "You betrayed Ninger again." Roaring, Xie Tianyang rushed after Xuaningxiang. "What are you going to do?" Zhuo Fan wiped the blood from his mouth and stood up. "I'm going to save her." Xie Tianyang was dead serious. "Just you?" Zhuo Fan jabbed. "How can a bone-tempering cultivator fight against a profound heaven expert? You saw what happened just now. You know the difference between the bone-tempering stage and profound heaven stage. It's not just about being unable to fly but also about speed." "So what?" Tightening his fists, Xie Tianyang spat. "It's better than doing nothing like you. We clearly had the chance to end that insidious demon last time. Last time we had the element of surprise and an array in place. In an array, no matter how fast he is, we can deal with him. But how will I set an array now? Are you telling me to set one right under his nose, then ask him to kindly step inside?" Xie Tianyang understood the meaning behind Zhuo Fan's words but couldn't accept his manner. Ninger fought through life and death with them and now Zhuo Fan was just going to sit there and do nothing. "Zhuo Fan, I always knew there was no worth in trusting you. But as a man, good or bad, they are duty-bound to fulfill their promise. You promised to take Ninger out, and if you don't, you'll be nothing more than a coward." Roaring, Xie Tianyang sped up in his rush. "If you go you can only watch, powerless to do anything." "I will still go. I would rather die than be a coward." Watching Xie Tianyang chasing Ninger, Zhuo Fan tightened his fists and muttered, "Who said I'm any different?" Then he turned around and entered the forest. In a cave, 15 minutes later, Zhuo Fan set up a concealing array then drew an odd pattern on the ground and placed spirit stones at key locations. Then he spread diamond sand across the entire pattern. Finally, his hand flashed and a pair of wings with streaks of lightning across them appeared in the center of this pattern. This was a secret body refining art from the 9 Serenities secret records. It would make use of demon transformation art to refine the ingredients and transform one's flesh into diamond body. This was far crueler than the wraith art he gave to Captain Pang. Wraith art was a cultivation method for humans to refine their body, but this secret art treated the human body as a medium in refining it, just like a demonic treasure. The results were outstanding, of course, invincible and tough as steel. But the process was excruciating, 1,000 times more miserable than the wraith art. To imagine, this process involved cutting one's body inch by painful inch if one wanted to refine his body with ingredients suited for demonic treasures. It was so dreadful that one would find death a blessing. In the past, before he even found the 9 Serenities secret records, Zhuo Fan wouldn't train in wraith art even if he had it. Because it was too inhuman, too brutal, despite how much strength it gave back. And here he was using a method even more excruciating and dangerous. But this was also the only way he could improve his strength in a short time. Chapter 75, Spirit and Body Refining. Chapter 75, Spirit and Body Refining. Speck by diamond speck sunk into Zhuo Fan's body as the array turned. The sand acted like minute needles, boring through his muscles and drawing blood. All diamond sand that touched him pierced his body, with no exception. 1 or 2 specks, he could bear, but 100, 1,000, they were beginning to take its toll on him, and all this while he could only gnash his teeth. When the number reached millions, his whole body was soaked in blood. And this blood all came from pin-sized holes left behind by the diamond speck, akin to a very fine sieve. Looking closely, the diamond sand had ruined his muscles, turning them to mush. And this was only the beginning, yet the pain was so excruciating, worse than any torture, death by 1,000 cuts, quite literally. However, to speed up his increase in power, Zhuo Fan still bore through it with clenched teeth, unwilling to utter even a grunt. Fine sweat ran over his body, testament to the pain. Even the mighty demonic emperor was reduced to a shivering mess. Ah! Then, Zhuo Fan's eyes narrowed as he cried out, unable to endure another million specks piercing his skin and muscles. He yelled and howled from the pain, but knew he had to stop and soon closed his mouth shut. In his heart he knew, this body refining method would remake his entire body, from the inside out, replacing his all with diamond sand. So much so he would become an unbreakable diamond. But before that, he would have to endure this agony. Yet this was just the flesh, it would soon be followed by the bones and inner organs. Zhuo Fan could only grit his teeth and follow through. If not for wishing to save Xuanningsiang, he wouldn't have chosen this path no matter how amazing the result. Too cruel. The strange array never stopped revolving, feeding Zhuo Fan's body with diamond sand. After 2 long hours, his muscles were broken down to the last fragment, then the diamond sand continued on to pierce his bones. Ugh! Zhuo Fan shook from the pain and a grunt escaped his clenched teeth. Yelling would only amplify his suffering until he could take it no more. To avoid his demise, he forced his mouth shut while his eyes bulged out of his blanched face. Damn rotten decrepit senile 9 Serenities Emperor. How the hell did you come up with this insane refining method? The moment the diamond sand entered his bones, Zhuo Fan spasmed. He couldn't even speak, so he cursed the first demon emperor of ages past in his mind. Had the demon emperor heard, his reply would be mockery, "Did I push your hand? Who lied to you that a meager thing like you can succeed?" Suddenly Zhuo Fan's body seized up 1 second and laid limp the next. His skeleton was turned to dust in that instant. Such pain filled his eyes with tears, but he was now nothing more than a pile of mush. And all he could do was lie paralyzed on the ground. There's also the last step, body remodeling. Zhuo Fan was sweating bullets as he sucked in a deep breath through gritted teeth. With his skeleton nothing more than a bone meal, the diamond sand burrowed deep into his organs. It didn't wait to stick to them like before but punched right through them. Zhuo Fan's organs were shredded and he was spewing blood mixed with flesh again and again. The blood seeped into the strange array and fused with it. Yet despite the constant flow of blood and the sweat and the pain, his lips curled into a sinister grin. I have prevailed. Now only body remodeling is left. Zhuofan's smile was wiped away by a wail. Ah! It didn't go as planned. The diamond sand finished with his organs and went for his brain. Be it a mortal or cultivator, the brain was the weakest for both, as it was the place that housed one's soul. Diamond sand was raining havoc in his very soul, his mind. Once it was gone, his death would be final. He felt as if thousands of ghosts were assailing him, a pain down to the bottom of his core. It was thousands of times crueler than the first step. But unlike before, when his mind was clear, the pain was now eating away at his consciousness. His soul was slowly being spent and was on the verge of shattering. And all he could do was wait for his demise. Ha ha ha, for me, the grand demonic emperor, to die at my own hands. How ironic. If only I knew how wretched this body refining method was. Zhuofan chastised himself as he grew weaker. All this while, the strange array never stopped spinning, and the remaining diamond sand on it was soaked in his blood, but he was too far gone to even care. He was hanging by a thread, one that thinned by the second. What struck him as odd was, why did he have to refine his body through this hellish torture? I must have gone insane. Why did I use this deviant secret art? Zhuofan shut his eyes with a trace of regret, as his life flashed before his eyes. Since he became a demonic cultivator, he overcame all trials bearing his path, becoming the leader of the 8 emperors in the sacred domain, the first below a saint, a path filled with glory. Then he gained the 9 Serenity's secret records, bringing him further joy, and though his disciples sold him out, he was reborn in the Luo clan, as a steward. Then he met Xie Tianyang and Xuaningxiang. Xuaningxiang. Xuaningxiang, Zhuofan's lips cracked open, muttering her name in his delirium. Then he flashed his eyes open and yelled, Ninger. He recalled why he chose this path. It was to save her. At that moment, the strange array spun faster and faster, encompassing everything in it in arcane power. Zhuofan's forehead released a blue flame that turned into tendrils and enveloped his body, to ultimately fuse into the strange array. Zhuofan had no clue that this secret body refining method didn't just refine the body, but one's spirit too. Its purpose was to unearth all potential of a cultivator. If only the body was refined through this method, failure was guaranteed and death was a certainty. When Zhuofan was nearing death, he woke up to the reason behind his choice, and his will to live thrummed with power. It resonated with his soul and allowed the blue flame in his body to fuse with the array. It was only now that this strange array displayed its true power. The array spun so fast that it kicked up a storm. It soon turned blue from the flame and melted the diamond sand before fusing it with Zhuofan's blood, flowing throughout his body. Golden blood soothed Zhuofan's lacerated body, breathing life into his muscles, bones, and organs. The blue flame returned to his forehead once the process was complete and fused with his soul. Zhuofan kept his eyes closed, unaware of what happened outside. He only felt his life renewing and growing with every passing moment. All this time, Blood Infant sat cross-legged in his dantian. Seeing the incoming golden blood, it was filled with ecstasy, swallowing as much as it could. It began to alternate between fading in and out of reality, to ultimately turn into a golden infant. It opened its eyes and they flashed golden, filled with vigor. Thanks to the blue flame, the pair of wings which streaked with lightning, were turned into liquid and entered Zhuofan. In a blink, an image of a pair of blue wings appeared on his back with lightning flashing across them. Deep in the Allbeast mountain range, high up a mountain, laid a cave. And from this cave came the shocked voice of a strong middle-aged man. How come the azure flame I gave the kid is now gone? Did he remove it, or did he take control over it? Then laughter came from deep within the cave, ha ha ha, I must be getting old. For that kid to erase it is already impossible, so how could he refine it? Not even a saint stage expert can receive my azure flame. Although, if you really removed it, how will I find him? Well, he'll come around sooner or later, ha ha ha. The man laughed in his cave, and the sound traveled for hundreds of miles, but there was no spiritual beast around to hear it. Chapter 76, Diamond Body. Chapter 76, Diamond Body. Blue Expanse City, Shui Clan's entrance. When Shui Dingtian landed, he noticed that the place was eerily quiet. There weren't even guards around. It made his heart nervous and he rushed inside. He soon arrived outside the main hall. As he looked inside, he saw a familiar figure in the seat of honor, Hell Valley's seventh elder, Yugiki. The seventh elder was leisurely nursing a cup of tea. I wasn't aware the seventh elder graced us with his presence. Please forgive me for not welcoming you. The seventh elder's presence here intimidated Shui Dingtian, but he forced himself to show proper respect as if all was normal in the world. Yugiki sipped his tea, then smashed it on the table. Plop! And Shui Dingtian's heart sank with it. Giving him a cursory glance, Yugiki broke out in an insidious grin. Shui Dingtian, you've been under Hell Valley's care for a century now. We've always been kind to you. Without a doubt. Thanks to Hell Valley and Seventh Elder assisting us, Shui Clan reached today's glory. Shui Dingtian forced his anxiety down, hiding it behind a smile. Yugiki nodded and stood up. He strolled before Shui Dingtian and patted his shoulder with a warm smile. It's great that you think so, then. As he spoke, Yugiki's face twisted and clawed at Shui Dingtian's shoulder as he thundered, why did you collude with outsiders and steal Hell Valley's diamond sand? Shui Dingtian was shaking in fear and fell on his knees to kowtow, seventh elder. This is a misunderstanding. The Shui clan has been nothing but loyal to Hell Valley. We would never do such a thing. Ha ha ha, there was a time I thought the same, that you wouldn't be taking advantage of our kindness then move behind our backs. But that time has long passed. Grunting, Yugiki slapped the table to splinters and barked, where is your grandchild, Xuaningxiang? Shui Dingtian stammered for a response, but words left him. Humph, I will tell you. She and two runts stole my diamond sand and they now lie dead in Allbeast Mountain Range. Yugiki's brow shook as he recalled the dreadful howl he heard at that time. If he had stayed a moment longer, he'd be a goner. Despite not finishing the trio off, he assumed the monster would have finished the job with how wounded they were. He thought ruefully about this event. Xuaningxiang was of use to him, but now she was gone. He came back empty-handed too, no diamond sand and neither a cauldron. Sighing, Yugiki placed his rage on the Shui clan. Men, bring them in. Yugiki clapped and 3 bone tempering experts pulled 3 people in chains. Shui Dingtian was filled with sorrow and tears fell as he looked at them. They were Shui Wanlong and his sons, Shui Gang and Shui Lin. Heavy hooks dug deep into their shoulders, locking their clavicles in place and sealing their cultivation. From the bruises and wounds all over their bodies, it was clear how close they were to breathing their last. Seventh Elder. Shui Dingtian bellowed and stared down the smirking Yugiki with bloodshot eyes. Shui clan sacrificed its all this past century for Hell Valley in defending Blue Expanse City. Is this how Hell Valley repays its vassal clan's hard work? He, your second-rate clan is nothing but garbage. Hell Valley can have as many as it wants. To me, you're no vassals, but somewhat useful watchdogs. We throw you a bone, a reward, and you should be skipping around in joy. When a dog starts raising questions to his master about getting credit for its hard work, it must be put down. Yugiki cackled. Unable to bear Yugiki's mockery any further, Shui Dingtian clenched his fist and unleashed his fury. Exerting his pressure as a profound heaven expert, he pushed back the 3 bone tempering experts around him while Yugiki just watched on with naked killing intent. It seems that the watchdog wants to take a bite out of its master, he. Then it's time to replace it. Yugiki. In his entire life, This was the first time Xue Dingtian uttered the seventh elder's taboo name out of sheer rage. Let me ask you. Isn't Ninger's marriage just a cover to use her as a cauldron and practice martial arts? Yugiki looked at him in surprise before laughing. Ha ha ha, I used to look down on you every time, but look at how smart you are. We've been at it for so long, yet you're the only vassal clan that figured it out. So that's why you defected. It's all for a silly girl. Bastard. Xue Dingtian's fury exploded and rushed with his entire yuan qi laid bare. I'll kill you. Yugiki sneered, sidestepping Xue Dingtian's palm and delivering an attack of his own. Bam! The hit on his chest upset his blood flow and Xue Dingtian spat blood as he tumbled backward. Yugiki made use of Xue Dingtian's prone condition and delivered 2 more palm attacks. Xue Dingtian felt his chest burning and he spurted blood like a fountain. Ha ha ha, Xue Dingtian, you think you have what it takes to kill me? You're nothing but a greenhorn profound heaven stage cultivator that just broke through, while I am in the 3rd layer. You are at the bottom and I am at the peak. You will never overcome this chasm. Yugiki then dealt another palm attack with bloodthirsty eyes. Old coot, die. But go in peace knowing that your son and grandsons will follow you. Powerless to do anything, Xue Dingtian closed his eyes awaiting the final strike. Such an ending, he never wished for his Xue clan. But at the very least, his dear granddaughter escaped this calamity. Xue Dingtian was relieved that Yugiki assumed her to be dead and wouldn't search for her. Stop! A high-pitched cry was heard and Yugiki stopped his attack midway. Looking ahead, he saw Xue Ningxiang at the gate, holding a dagger to her neck. You're alive. Yugiki was in shock. His sole reason for coming to this clan was to have her as a cauldron. Xue Ningxiang took in the sight of her suffering family, her grandfather beaten to a pulp, and her eyes teared. She only had hatred towards Yugiki for his cruelty. Dagger inching at her throat, Xue Ningxiang threatened, if you still want me as a cauldron, release them. Or I will take my life right here and now. Yugiki mocked, he, Ninger, get off your high horse. We do need you to practice martial arts, but you aren't irreplaceable. You have nothing to bargain with. Xue Ningxiang was startled and worried gnawed her heart, but she recalled Zhuo Fan's analysis and showed her white neck as she mocked, 7th Elder, you can't lie to me. I know Hell Valley lacks cauldrons, I know of my value. Since you do not care, then I will die along with my family. Xue Ningxiang then traced her dagger along her neck and blood trickled. Ninger, no. Stop. Xue Dingtian and Yugiki cried at once. Xue Ningxiang looked down on Yugiki, 7th Elder, it seems to me that you're not yet ready to let me go. Yugiki's ruthless eyes flashed, is that runt still alive? Xue Ningxiang avoided his gaze. She knew who he was talking about, he died in Allbeast Mountain Range and you can go look for his body if you want to. But I'm afraid spiritual beasts would have devoured it by now. Humph, don't try to lie to me. Yugiki sneered, I have many enemies, but that runt was the first to bring me to such a state, coming back empty-handed and heavily wounded. Chuckling, Yugiki continued, girlie, don't take this the wrong way, but you do not have what it takes to see through me. That runt must have told you. Xue Ningxiang only stared back, to which Yugiki shook his head, in any case, I will have to take a step back. Since you put me on the spot, I will not take your family's lives. Really? Xue Ningxiang was about to go help her grandfather in joy, but Yugiki shook his hand and a hook bit into Xue Dingtian. Ah! A wail of agony resounded and Xue Dingtian blacked out. His chest was soaked in blood and his clavicle was pierced, just like his son's. Yugiki, you. I said I won't kill them, but your grandfather is a profound heaven expert. I have to make sure he falls in line. I will, of course, let them go once we're at Hell Valley. You better honor your word. Xue Ningxiang stared at him. Nodding, Yugiki snickered, how could I lie when you're so valuable? Men, take Miss Ninger to rest, we will return to Hell Valley on the morrow. An elegant youth arrived next to Xuanning along with 2 servants. Zhuo Fan would have recognized him in an instant. He was Yu Ming, who infiltrated Black Wind Mountain as Yang Ming and later escaped Windgaze City. Standing next to Xuanning, Yu Ming snickered, "So you are the cauldron for my senior's use? I have to say, you sure are pretty." Xuanning snorted and turned to look at her family as she left accompanied by the servants. Yu Ming shrugged, then went to Yu Giki, "Master, what would you like us to do in regards to Luo clan? We have suffered greatly at the hands of their steward, Zhuo Fan." Xuanning pace faltered at the name. "Did you tell anyone else that he killed 2 of our elders?" "No." Yu Ming was cautious, "Even if I do, no one would believe me." "Ha ha ha, I didn't believe it either. But a few months back, I met a freak of nature that countered everything I threw at him. With how large the world is, there are bound to be some monsters out there." "Master, then," Yu Ming spoke softly. Shaking his head, Yu Giki's eyes flashed with killing intent, "We will deal with this runt first, then think of a way to end that Zhuo Fan. Or these 2 whelps will one day be Hell Valley's nightmare." Xuanning was worried sick at his words and picked up the pace. She was worried since Yu Giki had set his eyes on Zhuo Fan because of her. Yet none of them knew that the 2 whelps were one and the same. The night seemed endless to Xuanning as her heart was unable to find peace. At dawn, the first rays of sunlight washed over the unusually quiet Xue clan's small courtyard. A dozen servants were already tending to Xuanning preparations. Meanwhile, a shockwave passed through the first area of Allbeast mountain range and exposed a pitch-black cave. A naked man staggered outside in the gentle sunlight, giving his body a golden shine. His every step left deep prints in the earth, and even the rock crumbled to dust. He sheltered his eyes from the sunlight and looked around. He took another step and rested his hand on the cave wall for support. But his small action destroyed the stone wall completely and he fell to the ground. The man stood up among the rubble, however, the rock he was on also turned to dust. Taking a moment to adapt, his face now showed resolve. At a closer look, it was clear this man was Zhuo Fan. Just that his every line and features were as if sculpted, exuding sharp power. When he opened his eyes, streaks of lightning sparked. Zhuo Fan got a feel of his body and revealed a manic grin. Everywhere he touched let out a metallic sound. He was immensely pleased with his body, which was now completely refined with the diamond sand and was as tough as a 5th-grade spiritual weapon. He then touched his forehead and a blue flame drifted out. This was the flame that the mysterious expert gifted. He couldn't control it until now. But through the strange array's refining, it fused with his soul and became his soul flame. He could now use it any way he wished. Thinking of this made him burst out in laughter. The refining process was hellish, excruciating, and deadly, but the result was astounding. He was now reborn with an unbreakable diamond body. Even a profound heaven expert wouldn't be able to make a dent in his body. With but a thought, a pair of wings with lightning flickering over their surface, burst from his back and lifted him 10 meters in the air. They were the wings of Thunder Skylark, a creature whose speed was incredible even against a profound heaven expert. This was why he chose to refine them into his body. With them, he became a freak, a true monster. Putting on new clothes, he flashed towards the blue expanse city like lightning. Chapter 77, Round 2, Start. Chapter 77, Round 2, Start. Young Miss is marrying. Outside Xue clan's gate, an obese granny yelled as Xuanning was led outside by 2 servant girls. The entire blue expanse city gathered around to witness the event. Yu Giki and Yu Ming sported a faint smile. Everyone was happy towards Hell Valley's show of gratitude. Some people were even tearing, imagining it was their family's daughter getting married. Xuanning walked before the shocked masses. If before they were amazed by Hell Valley's power, now they were in awe by her beauty. Xuaningxiang was dressed in a common wedding gown but lacked the heavy makeup other brides had. Yet solely from this, her appearance evoked a feeling of genuine beauty, not a fake one from excess preparations. Pure as an orchid, making people afraid of marring. Only this beauty deserved to be married into the 7 houses. The crowd gathered to see her smile, to wish her blessings. But their best wishes and kind thoughts only worked to burden Xuaningxiang's already heavy heart. Everyone here envied her second-rate clan for their marriage with one of the 7 houses, unaware of the hell that awaited her. Slanting her head towards Yugiki, Xuaningxiang asked in a cold tone, "Will 7th elder accompany me?" "Ha ha ha, but of course. It is my duty to protect Miss Ninger and Hell Valley's disciples' wedding, to safely deliver you to Hell Valley." The crowd was once again in awe of their kindness. However, Xuaningxiang only showed a smile of disdain. "What safeguard? It's clearly for monitoring us. At least once Yugiki leaves Blue Expanse City, Big Brother Xue can escape." Before she could breathe easy, Yugiki saw through her and said with a cold smile, "Oh right, Miss Ninger, I sealed off all Beast Mountain Range, even your secret tunnel. Those rats won't be able to escape from my palm." "You!" Xuaningxiang flared as her face blanched. It was her clan's secret and Yugiki must have pulled it out from her father and brothers. Zhuo Fan's means of escape was now cut off. "7th elder, I want." "No need to say it." Yugiki cut her off with a cold smile. "Your life was exchanged for your family, nothing more nothing less. Miss Ninger, after you." He then shook his sleeve. A lavish palanquin was before her with 50 bone-tempering experts around it. Xuaningxiang frowned as she lifted her leg only to put it back down. She wanted to save Zhuo Fan but Yugiki had her family's lives in his hand. She had nothing to bargain with. Suddenly, Xuaningxiang's thunder ring flashed and her heart seized in panic. "Don't come!" Xuaningxiang shouted at the sky, startling the onlookers. No one except Yugiki understood the reason behind her reaction. With a sinister flash in his eyes, he patiently waited for his prey. "Ninger, I have come to save you." In response to Xuaningxiang's shout came another. It was Xie Tianyang piercing forward with Star's sword at Yugiki. Sword intent made the crowd gasp as they scattered. Yugiki just mocked, "Humph, so you want to die? A mere bone-tempering cultivator would find their death close at hand against me." Yugiki, unafraid of the 4th-grade spiritual weapon, struck back with a palm. Against the wind pressure of the palm, Xie Tianyang's sword tip trembled and the sword intent scattered. He was shocked but didn't use the sword to defend and added more power to it. A golden sword light flew from the sword tip and pierced the mighty palm, then it continued towards Yugiki. Space-rupturing form. Yugiki's heart tightened and he vanished from his spot. The sword light struck the palanquin and turned it into splinters. Sword Marquise Abode's profound ranked martial art, flowing spaces 9 forms. Yugiki appeared behind Xie Tianyang and spoke with derision, "You're from Sword Marquise Abode. How can a boy wield its legacy? Are you?" "Humph, none of your business." Xie Tianyang snorted and stabbed backward. This time, the sword no longer had the imposing might. But everywhere it struck, it made space stagnate and Yugiki was slowed. "Empty net." Xie Tianyang bellowed. "Humph, you don't know when to quit." Even with a profound ranked martial art, the gulch between bone-tempering stage and profound heaven stage cannot be overcome. Snorting, Yugiki vanished, only to appear in front of Xie Tianyang. Xie Tianyang was startled but could do nothing as Yugiki's palm slapped him into the air. When he landed, 6 bone-tempering experts surrounded him to make sure he didn't get up. "Humph, disgraceful runt. If not for Sword Marquise Abode, you would have died by now." Yugiki mocked him. Xie Tianyang spat on his face and responded as if to spite him, "I dare you to kill me." But can you take responsibility for the war that follows? Ha ha ha. Wiping his face, Yugiki's tone turned colder with killing intent. Damn kid, you think I'm scared? You made a mess in my city, so the Sword Marquis' abode won't say anything even if I kill you. Yugiki slapped at Xie Tianyang's chest. Xuaningxiang cried, no. But Yugiki was dead set on killing him. Stop. An aged voice echoed and a golden sword wave hacked down. Yugiki wasn't about to receive it. This attack was unlike Xie Tianyang's, it was backed by the power of a profound heaven expert. He stopped his attack and jumped 6 meters back. Boom! When the dust cleared, a meter-wide hole was in Yugiki's previous position, its depth unknown. A white-haired old man drifted next to Xie Tianyang and fanned the bone-tempering experts away. 8th Elder. The old man looked frail, his eyes cloudy, a stark contrast to the true expert he was. Even his right hand was missing 3 fingers, yet this hand was bony and showed its blue veins clearly. Proof he was a seasoned swordsman. Xie Tianyang cried in joy while Yugiki sneered, Jian Suifeng, 50 years no see. How have you been? Fine, until you came to ruin my mood. The elder spat through gritted teeth. His cloudy eyes seethed with bone-deep hatred. 8th Elder, thank God you're here. Help me save Ninger. Xuaningxiang pulled Jian Suifeng's sleeve. But Jian Suifeng shook his head, Tianyang, this is Hell Valley's affair. We cannot get involved. Youngster, there'll be hell to pay if you poke your nose in others' business. Yugiki snickered, then turned to Jian Suifeng, case in point, you lost your 3 fingers due to the same reason. Jian Suifeng's eyes trembled from rage as he stared Yugiki down, you think I would have fallen for your scheme if not for being young at that time? Ha ha ha, it would have been better if you had stayed quiet. Yu Ming laughed, I heard from my master about Senior's matter, of the so-called undistinguished elder with rotten youth. At that time, if Senior hadn't lusted over a girl from one of Hell Valley's vassal clans, why would you force your way in her town, only to finally end with you ransomed by your glorious abode lord with 3 cities? Too bad about those 3 fingers, you had to leave those behind. Gritting his teeth, Jian Suifeng was so enraged that veins popped, Yugiki, don't take it too far. Or what, you'll attack. Yugiki made a sinister grin, 5 decades ago you couldn't beat me. And that hasn't changed even now, when we're just 1 layer apart. You best run along and call for your 7th Elder instead. He continued to ridicule Jian Suifeng, I am in awe of the Sword Marquis' abode's 13 Sword Elders' fame shaking the empire. But you're the only eyesore among them, not worth a dime. You, Jian Suifeng clenched his fists and shouted, Tianyang, we're leaving. But 8th Elder, you must at least fight for the honor of Sword Marquis' abode even if we can't save Ninger. Leaving like this. Quiet. Can't you tell he's goading us? This here is Hell Valley's domain. Winning or losing here will put Sword Marquis' abode at a disadvantage. He glared once more at Yugiki and said to Xie Tianyang, Tianyang, remember Yugiki's title and how cunning he is. Next time you meet him, make sure to face him with ample preparation. Xie Tianyang looked at Xuaningxiang not far ahead, and said in a determined tone, I know that. But if I don't save her today, I will regret it for the rest of my life. Ha ha ha, such is youth, ignorant of the world's dangers. Since Sword Marquis' abode's young master is so entertained by the idea of a hero saving a damsel, I will oblige by giving you a chance. Save not only her but also her clan, letting her feel ultimate gratitude towards you. Yugiki clapped and 4 bone-tempering experts pulled 4 large crosses, with the entire Shui clan nailed on them, from old to young. Grandpa, Dad, brothers. Xuaningxiang wailed and glared at Yugiki, 7th Elder, what are you doing? Acting my role as a villain. Yugiki then sent a grin towards Xie Tianyang, how will the young master play the hero otherwise? He then twisted his face and howled, "Attack!" The bone-tempering experts took out hooks and clawed them into the Shui clan's members. Blood fell like rain and their howls rang in the air. They even found the strength to shout their lungs out when the hooks came out of their bodies. Not even Shui Dingtian, who was a profound heaven expert, was eased from this suffering. Shui Ningxiang was crying her heart out and yelled, "You Giki, stop or I will kill myself. Then I will kill them all." Yugiki roared in return. Shui Ningxiang was rooted to the spot, powerless to alleviate the painful cries of her family. Her knees softened and she collapsed, as did her mind. Snickering next to her ear, Yuming reveled in her pain. "Girlie, get off your high horse. You're in no position to demand anything from my master. He is Insidious Demon, the #1 sage of Hell Valley. So many people from the 7 houses have fallen to my master's ploys, and you think you can best him at that? Ha ha ha, I'll have you know this too. It's because you angered him that he chose this course of action. You might have a bargaining chip, but too bad, you're too naive. And don't forget he has a bargaining chip too, rather close at hand." Shui Ningxiang lifted her head, but all they conveyed was emptiness and tears. Despair and agony. She sacrificed herself to save her clan, but she was far from being able to win against this cunning fox. It instead earned his ire and now he was venting it all on her clan. "It's all my fault." She blamed herself for everything. "Who will save me now?" Shui Ningxiang mumbled while looking at the sky in tears, "Who can save us?" "Humph, idiot." Yuming mocked her but then shrugged, "Idiot or not, a cauldron still has its use." Xie Tianyang saw Shui Ningxiang losing herself and his heart was in pain. Jian Suifeng stopped him from charging over with a shake of his head and a hand on his shoulder. "The farther we are from Yugiki, the better." But 8th Elder, Xie Tianyang's words faltered as Jian Suifeng's hand squeezed his shoulder harder, afraid the kid would make a rash decision. Plop! Xie Tianyang collapsed to his knees, his spirit broken, his pride as a genius turned to nothing but tears of humiliation. The girl he liked was suffering before him and he was powerless to do anything. Then he suddenly recalled Zhuo Fan's words. It all went out just as Zhuo Fan had said. Xie Tianyang believed there was nothing he couldn't do, but now he realized how meager and weak he was. "It seems that I was the coward all along," he muttered under his breath. "Zhuo Fan, you bastard, where the hell are you?" Xie Tianyang then raved through his manly tears and punched the ground until his fist inflamed. Jian Suifeng understood the kid's pain but couldn't help him. Suddenly, Shui Ningxiang's and Xie Tianyang's ring sparked. Only this time it was much stronger, similar to the time when the 3 thunder rings were close together. "He's here." Xie Tianyang looked around with hope. Shui Ningxiang shivered and her eyes began to regain clarity. She muttered looking at the thunder ring, "Be big brother Zhuo." Rumble. Suddenly lightning streaked across the sunny sky. It struck down among the crucified Shui clan members and blasted out the bone-tempering experts there in all directions. The dust rose as lightning still flickered within and everyone was now trying to perceive through it. When the dust settled, it revealed Zhuo Fan sporting his manic grin. "Yugiki, I lost the previous round. But the second round starts now." Chapter 78, Terrifying Power. Chapter 78, Terrifying Power. "Who is he?" asked Jian Suifeng when he saw Zhuo Fan through the dust while being shocked by the feeling of dread the youth exuded. He was experienced enough to notice that Zhuo Fan had just entered the bone-tempering stage, and yet the aura and power the kid released held a threat to a profound heaven expert's life. This contradiction made it all feel bizarre. Xie Tianyang felt the same. Zhuo Fan's face, which was radiating golden, added an extra feeling of pressure. It was unlike that from a profound heaven expert but felt like raw power was seeping in Zhuo Fan and threatened to destroy his last vestige of life. Everyone felt as if they were standing in front of a savage beast that was ready to pounce on them. He is a friend most untrustworthy, but also most dependable. Xie Tianyang smiled wryly as his body shivered. Not from fear, but excitement. He grasped the possibility that this new Zhuo Fan could save Xuaningxiang. Jian Suifeng looked at Xie Tianyang in amazement. It was his first time seeing this arrogant and genius kid show such confidence and dependence on someone. Jian Suifeng turned to watch Zhuo Fan, to witness what made him so special. Ha ha ha, you not only survived but broke through. Yugiki sensed Zhuo Fan's entirely changed aura but dismissed it. The way he saw it, this was merely confidence from entering a new realm. He would learn on his own skin how weak a bone-tempering cultivator was in the face of a profound heaven expert, and his confidence will deflate like a balloon. One thing did strike him as odd though. He and Zhuo Fan last met a few months ago when the kid was in his 6th layer of qi condensation, and on his last breath. Yet here he was less than half a year later, unharmed and even advanced to bone-tempering stage. His speed sent shivers even down Yugiki's spine. How did this happen? Yugiki thought, this runt is a freak, and must definitely be put down for good. Yugiki snorted, Ming'er, go and end him for me. Zhuo Fan rose an eyebrow in ridicule, oh, so it's you. That's fine, last time you ran away and left me with regret, but I will be extra careful in making sure to end our grievance this time around. What, you two know each other? Yugiki jerked back at Yuming, only to see his prideful disciple shaking in his boots. Even his face was twisted, pale beyond belief. Useless. Even with me having your back, you're still this scared. Yugiki spat at his disciple's cowardice. It was fine if no one else was around, but with the two from Sword Marquis's abode here, it made quite the embarrassment. A damn lily-livered punk threw all of Hell Valley's name into the ground. Jian Suifeng wasn't one to overlook the chance to laugh at their expense, ha ha ha, a brilliant disciple matching a renowned master. Today I've seen Hell Valley's disciple's staunch will. Yugiki was turning green and kicked Yuming, who face-planted into the ground. What a disgrace. He just broke through, while you're in the 2nd layer of bone-tempering stage. Stumbling to his feet, Yuming took a short glance at Zhuo Fan. But Zhuo Fan's wicked grin seemed to spell death, and so he threw himself at Yugiki's feet with a wail, Master, he is Luo clan's steward, Zhuo Fan. Elder Jian and Elder Yun died because of him. Yugiki froze a second, then flitted a long look at Zhuo Fan. He finally seemed to understand. Zhuo Fan's power wasn't limited to setting up 5th-grade arrays. He also had a cunning mind that almost made him pay with his life. It's no wonder the 2 elders died by his hand. In Hell Valley, elders were seen as figures of respect and worshipped by disciples, unrivaled in the world. But Yuming witnessed the death of 2 and now fear gnawed his heart like a demon. He will never muster the courage to face Zhuo Fan in this life regardless of his advantage over him. With Yuming in the 2nd layer of bone-tempering stage, he should have no trouble dealing with the newly advanced Zhuo Fan. But was this notion still valid? Just look at him shivering. Yugiki sighed and patted Yuming's shoulder. To remove his disciple's heart demon, his disciple had to kill Zhuo Fan himself. He stated coldly, anyone willing to capture him will receive my reward. Elder, I will do it. A large man cupped his hands. He was in the 6th layer of the bone-tempering stage. Dealing with an early bone-tempering cultivator was easy pickings. The other guards were sad that they missed such a chance. Zhuo Fan was an easy contribution that just flew away. Yugiki nodded and turned Yuming's head towards Zhuo Fan, Ming'er, watch. This runt is only good with arrays. Now that he has no chance of setting one, he's done for. The guard will soon bring him over and you can kill him yourself to remove your heart demon. Yuming nodded and looked ahead. Jian Suifeng frowned, Yugiki sure lives up to his title. He instantly figured out his disciple's state and a way to help him overcome it. Tianyang, your friend is in danger. Xia Tianyang looked at the always composed Zhuo Fan and smiled, that punk never batted an eyelid. He will be fine. Such a reply rose Jian Suifeng's curiosity. The difference between the two is of 5 layers, so the outcome should be clear as day. The large man thundered towards Zhuo Fan with a cackle, he, you are a heaven-sent gift for me. I can't wait to receive my reward from the 7th elder once I hand you over. People die from greed, while birds die from hunger. It all depends on you if you can defeat me. Zhuo Fan snickered. Ha, you sure have a big mouth for one who is about to die. One fist is enough to make you behave. The large man's punch was as fast as the wind and as strong as a mountain. Yet Zhuo Fan didn't look like he had time to react. The boom shook in everyone's ears. Xie Tianyang's smile was gone, now replaced with shock that Zhuo Fan wasn't even able to dodge. He was able to contend equally with me when he was a qi condensation cultivator, so why didn't he move? Xue Ningxiang's face fell, big brother Zhuo. Seeing that Zhuo Fan took the punch head-on, Hell Valley's guards started sneering. He, I knew he was done for, but never thought it'd be over so quickly. Did he really kill 2 of our elders? If he did, then I am first under heaven, ha. Curses, that moron got all the reward. Now I want to know what Valley Lord's gift will be. As the people started chattering, Zhuo Fan's threatening atmosphere soon disappeared from their hearts. Only Yugiki frowned, looking left and right. Ah! A wail pierced the noise of the crowd, and the large man was seen clutching his hand as he stumbled back. His hand was now a twisted and broken mess. Turning to Zhuo Fan, nothing seemed to have changed about him, still the same grin and the same demeanor. This is impossible. Jian Suifeng cried, a first-layer bone-tempering cultivator broke a 6th layer's hand with his face. Xie Tianyang's eyes bulged out. He knew Zhuo Fan always moved with a plan in mind, but even he found this new strength of this youth borderline perverse. With him like this, he'll have no trouble even against profound heaven experts. The crowd now lost their mocking gazes and were instead rooted in place by fear and shock. Zhuo Fan never paid them any heed as he strolled before the large man. The large man was groaning while holding his bleeding hand. Before he could react, his chest was then punched through by Zhuo Fan's fist. It all seemed so easy, as if he punched through paper. Zhuo Fan then flicked his hand and the large man splashed on the ground after a wide trail in the sky. The people watched in abject horror the bulging eyes of the man, his vacant expression. Chapter 79, Human Weapon. Chapter 79, Human Weapon. Yes, obscene. This was the only apt description anyone could think of. Zhuo Fan's power far exceeded the common understanding and only this word could encompass the height he reached. It was common knowledge that bone-tempering stage was the best period in a cultivator's life to temper one's body. Even a profound heaven expert could, at best, destroy a bone-tempering cultivator's organs. A far cry from what Zhuo Fan did, running one through. On top of that, Zhuo Fan just broke through, making this even unprecedented throughout history. Monster. It first began as a whisper, but this word grated everyone's ears and they all agreed to this adequate assessment. Fear was painted vividly on their faces. Hell Valley's bone-tempering guards were no longer envious of the lucky man, instead, they felt sympathy for him. What rotten luck. Not only didn't he earn merit but threw his life away instead. Whoosh! Zhuo Fan was suddenly caught off guard by a white and black pair of chains as they coiled around him. Yugiki smirked, holding the other end of the chains. Damn, even with the kid's insane talent, he'll be mincemeat soon as he is locked by the 4th-grade demonic treasure. Jian Suifeng sighed. He was in awe of Zhuo Fan's ability, of his bright future, but a pity he'll die at insidious demon's hand. Xie Tianyang's heart tensed. He didn't foresee a profound heaven expert like Yugiki resorting to sneak attacks on a newly promoted bone-tempering cultivator. Although the person in question was a freak of nature, it was still despicable. Xuaningxiang was happy at first but then turned worried. Zhuo Fan eyed the familiar demonic treasure and said, using such underhanded moves from the get-go, that too against a junior. Seventh Elder, seems like you do not care about Hell Valley's name. Yugiki laughed dryly, you're smart to notice my intention from a look. There is hardly anyone compared to your caliber in the Jianyu Empire. You are one outstanding devil that not even I dare to neglect. Ha ha ha, I truly admire the Seventh Elder's cautious nature. In any case, this junior came without any plan or scheme prepared, only to end you myself. Yet you're so prudent regardless. Yugiki's mood darkened. Reading between the lines, he knew Zhuo Fan mocked him for his yellow-bellied attitude. Even he had his limits, especially when humiliated in front of such a crowd by a bone-tempering junior. Runt, say that again and I'll make sure there won't even be a corpse left of you. Am I wrong? Zhuo Fan cocked his head and laughed, with your character, the faster you kill your opponent the better. Yet the first thing you did when I arrived was to send your disciple to test the waters, only to have him reduced to a shivering mess from fear to the point he ignored your orders. And left with no choice, you sent that buffoon to his death in the name of curing your disciple's heart demon. There's no need to even mention winning, but just in case he failed, it wasn't that much of a loss since it offered you the perfect timing to blindside me when I finished him off. And this is the result. Zhuo Fan enlightened everyone and even Jian Suifeng was startled so much that his fear for Yugiki grew. He wasn't Yugiki's match and if he were in Zhuo Fan's stead, Yugiki would have succeeded in his devious plan. Yugiki is ruthless and cunning to the extreme. Yet that Zhuo Fan isn't any better, discovering his ploy in an instant. The insidious demon showing such an extreme caution against a bone-tempering cultivator not only shocked him but everyone present. On the other hand, Zhuo Fan wasn't in the least beneath Yugiki in cunningness. Thinking about this let Jian Suifeng hold Zhuo Fan in higher regard. Hi, aren't you caught in my web despite seeing through it? Yugiki snickered with killing intent, I just need to twitch my arm and you'll turn putty. Zhuo Fan rose an eyebrow and laughed, say, how did a sinister old coot like you turn so stupid? You think it's that easy to trap me since I saw through you? Zhuo Fan's eyes gleamed and lightning cracked. Bam! Yugiki couldn't even react before the chains were thrown away. Zhuo Fan now sported a pair of 10-meter-long wings streaked by flashing lightning. Thunder Skylark's wings. Xie Tianyang cried. Zhuo Fan had appropriated the Thunder Skylark's body for himself. But Xie Tianyang didn't expect him to refine its wings into a demonic treasure. Since the Thunder Skylark was a 6th-level spiritual beast, adding the diamond sand into the equation, the refined demonic treasure would also be 6th grade. Xie Tianyang was in glee. 6th grade flying demonic treasure. Yugiki's tone was grave, with it, you can match a profound heaven expert's speed, however. As he spoke, he flicked the yin-yang chains. The chains moved individually from opposite directions to seal Zhuo Fan's escape. A profound heaven expert's advantage over bone-tempering cultivator isn't just limited to speed. I know that all too well. Zhuo Fan didn't care about the chains, a profound heaven expert relies on his quick moves in melee, not something a flying demonic treasure can overcome. Although. But then, the chains were about to strike Zhuo Fan, one aiming his head and the other his chest. Whoosh! The pair of wings moved like independent arms and swatted the chains away. Yugiki and Jian Suifeng jerked in shock, this can't be possible. There was an ancient story that spoke of flying demonic treasures that could change shape at the wielder's will and launch attacks. But a demonic treasure was inanimate, so how could it do that? The people there watched Zhuo Fan as if they were looking at a monster. He sported a faint smile as he spoke at leisure, but when did I say it's a demonic treasure? While demonic treasures were refined as tools, Zhuofan refined the wings into his body. In other words, they were part of his body. He could let them out at will and make them move as he wished. He was no longer your average human being, but a human weapon. If the wings were a 6th-grade demonic treasure, then his body had become a 5th-grade demonic treasure refined through the method of diamond sand tempering. This wasn't something Yugiki and the rest could fathom when not even the denizens of Sacred Domain couldn't. The only ones who could comprehend this were those ancient talents who held the 9 Serenities' secret records and were aware of the deviant secret method to refine materials into their human body. Damn freak. Even the calm Yugiki had to curse through gritted teeth. His eyes were bloodshot and his hands were poised to strike. The 2 chains flitted everywhere and soon became 2, then 4, then 8. Numerous chains approached from every angle like a rain of death, all aiming for Zhuofan. He wanted to beat Zhuofan to a pulp. But Zhuofan smiled fearlessly as he stood his ground. His eyes flashed and the wings moved like lightning. Only the sounds of cracking lightning and grating metal were heard, while not even a trace of the chains nor the wings was seen. But the flickering lightning was proof enough for everyone to know of the bitter fight the 2 were in. This was a profound heaven expert's speed. This gave a shock to the audience and let them know how weak they were against a profound heaven expert. But Zhuofan was the one who agitated them the most. A bone-tempering cultivator had such power. Xie Tianyang watched numbly with incredulous eyes at how deep the gap between them was. Even more so when Zhuofan of yesterday was a far cry from today. 8th Elder, what can you see? Xie Tianyang saw Jian Suifeng standing there in a daze without blinking. He never saw his elder so astonished in his life. Yugiki is pushing hard with his attacks but Zhuofan is blocking them all. It is unclear as to the outcome, but Yugiki seems to have the upper hand. Jian Suifeng stated so, but his eyes never left the fight, afraid of missing anything. Xie Tianyang was despondent. His and Zhuofan's gap was now even bigger. Zhuofan of before won with a raise while now he relied only on himself. In merely a single day, their positions switched so much that Xie Tianyang was left far behind in the dust. Chapter 80, Face Slapping. Chapter 80, Face Slapping. Whoosh! The metallic and lightning sounds came to an abrupt stop. Zhuofan's expression was one of focus as he halted his wings while Yugiki was nowhere in sight. A sound broke the silence and Zhuofan's heart seized, he instinctively bent his wings. Ding! His wings blocked the sneak attack of the chains from behind but a cold needle was speeding at his back. It was Yugiki with his 3rd-grade demonic treasure, Twisted Needle. He, runt, what are you going to do now? Yugiki snickered. Zhuofan's wings were occupied with the yin-yang chains. The 3rd-grade demonic treasure's attack came at an impeccable timing, right when Zhuofan's movement was sealed. Not even Yugiki could get out of this one if he was in Zhuofan's place. But Zhuofan only muttered, mystifying phantom step. Whoosh! He vanished from his place and the chains along with the twisted needle lost their target, throwing Yugiki off balance. Then Zhuofan came from behind using his wings as axes aiming for Yugiki's neck. Ding! With a crisp sound, the wings and yin-yang chains clashed again. But this time, their roles were reversed. The situation flipped in a blink, with Zhuofan now pressing his advantage. Even Jian Suifeng was affected by this sudden turn. Hell Valley's #1 sage, Yugiki, was driven to a corner by a youth. 7th Elder, how does it feel to be on the receiving end of a sneak attack? Zhuofan's wings pushed against the yin-yang chains until Yugiki leaned backward. If I also had a 3rd-grade demonic treasure, you'd be dead by now. Yet despite your efforts and the golden opportunity, I'm still alive and kicking, so to speak. Yugiki's face flushed and was gasping heavily to ease the rage within him. Zhuofan's words were an affront to his title. Yu wasn't powerful because of his cultivation, but because of his title as Insidious Demon, the #1 sage of Hell Valley. Yet Zhuo Fan was mocking his pride. The same as saying, if I were you, I would have long killed my opponent with a sneak attack and wouldn't need to waste time chatting them up. This was the worst humiliation Yu ever suffered. One may mock his character, his devious nature, yet he would take them all as badges of honor. But never ever would he allow one to insult his intelligence. That was where he drew the line. Anyone who mocked him for a fool, he would make sure to give them a fate worse than death. Yet Zhuo Fan had him beaten at every corner and kept mocking him, with him powerless to prevent it. This brought a never-felt feeling of resentment. Don't get too cocky, damn runt. Yugiki's anger reached a breaking point. His yuan qi exploded, flinging Zhuo Fan's wings aside. Then, he swirled his chains at Zhuo Fan, leaving behind afterimages. Yu was at peak speed, and with the added effect of the yin-yang chains, he reached a new height. Zhuo Fan remained calm as he laughed. His figure darted around with the help of mystifying phantom step in his wings, moving even faster than Yu. The people were once again bearing witness to afterimages and metallic sounds clashing with streaks of lightning, but never a clear image of any of the two's bitter fight. They flashed across the entire plaza, one moment to the east, the next to the west. Flashing in every direction possible and even around the bone-tempering guards. But since the people could only hear them and not see, they stood there in fear. One slip, one errant move from their part and only pieces would remain of them. Eighth Elder, how does it look? When Yu and Zhuo Fan were at a standstill with demonic treasures, Xia Tianyang could grasp some of the situation. But as the matter devolved to such a state, he was unable to see them and had to defer to Jian Suifeng's assessment. It burst their heads and liquefied their organs. The other guards fled for 50 meters in anxiety while Yu and Zhuo Fan stood across each other, having known of this long ago. What's happening? Xia Tianyang darted his eyes to the corpses in fear. Jian Suifeng's eyes never left Zhuo Fan as he spoke in a grave tone, Tianyang, your friend is terrifying. I've never seen anyone like him. That Yu he has never suffered as much as he has now. Xia Tianyang didn't understand, but Jian Suifeng continued, in their clashes, Yu was giving his all. They attacked each other again and again and made me believe Zhuo Fan was also fighting with everything. Then suddenly, his speed jumped. But what? Xia Tianyang seemed impatient. Jian Suifeng revealed an imperceptible smile, but instead of ending this battle, he dragged Yu around, killing guards right under Yu eyes. Xia Tianyang was startled, why do this? Why didn't he finish the old man off if he had the chance? Ha ha ha, this is where the kid is truly terrifying. Jian Suifeng's eyes shook and he turned serious, he did it to mock that old fool. An elder was led by the nose by a snot-nosed brat, killing a score of his men yet powerless to stop it. Yu known as the Insidious Demon, was played around by a bone-tempering kid as a cat plays with a mouse. Will there be any pride left in him after this? Zhuo Fan and Yu are the same. Offending such a person would invite a world of suffering. Because their revenge isn't limited to killing you, but robbing you of all you hold dear, including pride. Death only comes after there is nothing left to plunder. Jian Suifeng suddenly laughed, feeling all his grievances get washed away, only evil can fight evil. Yu was despicable in his ways for too long, and today he met his match in a little demon who has a heart just as black as his. How refreshing. Jian Suifeng's laughter rang in everyone's ears and jarred Yu The latter was burning with rage and was close to spewing blood. He felt miserable every time he saw Zhuo Fan standing smug. Zhuo Fan's power exceeded his predictions by far. In the first move itself, he discovered that Zhuo Fan had surpassed him. He not only treated this fight as a spar but also had the leisure to kill his men. Zhuo Fan left him powerless. Especially when it came to schemes, where Zhuo Fan was at his level, if not higher. Yugiki felt his head hurt, feeling weak and feeble for the first time. No, this can't end like this. If this gets dragged on for long, he will kill me. I need to end it in one blow. Yugiki had a plan in mind but didn't know if it would work, especially in Zhuo Fan's case. But he was left with no choice. His eyes flashed and flung the chains at Zhuo Fan. This thing won't work on me. Zhuo Fan smirked, readying his wings. But the yin-yang chains veered off from him at the last minute, aiming for Xuaningxiang. Xuaningxiang was rooted in fear, but Zhuo Fan appeared before her in a flash of lightning and flung the chains with his wings. Ha ha ha, I see it now. Yugiki laughed hysterically. Zhuo Fan, oh Zhuo Fan, I found your weakness. In the Allbeast mountain range, you ingrained a deep fear in these old bones with your constant attacks, so I thought you came this time seeking revenge. But now I see it was all for her. And you think this changes anything? You will die just as well. Zhuo Fan stated. Humph, if you bore the same ruthlessness you showed before, would have some misgivings. But you care for this girl and placed victory in my grasp, ha ha ha. Chapter 81, Instant Kill. Chapter 81, Instant Kill. Yugiki jumped in the air and performed a double hand sign. A demonic face appeared, twisted in malice and pain. Hell Valley's profound ranked martial art, demonic face seal. Jian Suifeng shouted, this martial art is focused on striking at one's soul, it is undefendable. Even radiant stage cultivators will find it hard to cope with such an attack. The lightest injury is dizziness, while the worst would be death. His words traveled to Zhuo Fan's ears as a clear warning. Yugiki noticed this but laughed instead, damn runt, if you dodge, the demonic face seal will kill the girl. If you try to take her, you won't make it. Big brother Zhuo, forget about me and leave. I can die in peace knowing you will save my family. Xuaningxiang urged. Zhuo Fan looked back with a smile, then spoke coldly at Yugiki, she is mine. As long as I'm here, you can't harm her. Then I will kill you, ha 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 ha. Yugiki pointed and the demonic face wailed on its way towards Zhuo Fan. Xuaningxiang was nervous and was about to jump in front, but Zhuo Fan stopped her with his wing. Boom! The demonic face smashed on Zhuo Fan and thousands of grey tendrils of energy wrapped around him. The cries of lamentation, similar to that of a being starved for centuries and finally finding food, were heard all around. Xia Tianyang turned towards Jian Suifeng in anxiety, but the latter only sighed. Even a profound heaven expert was powerless in the face of such an attack, least of all a bone-tempering cultivator. Xuaningxiang couldn't hold back her tears. Hi, damn runt, lust is your downfall. A demonic cultivator should be ruthless, yet you let emotion cloud your judgment and make you weak. Yugiki cackled as he turned to Xuaningxiang, wench, his death is on you. Xuaningxiang watched Zhuo Fan become grey and her cries became heartrending. If not for saving her, he could have lived. Big brother Zhuo, forgive me, it's all my fault. Xuaningxiang sobbed. Ha ha ha, foolish girl, don't let that old goat see you cry. You're only bringing him satisfaction. Suddenly, Zhuo Fan's voice came from within the ball of grey tendrils. The crowd was shocked. Wasn't Zhuo Fan reeked with pain inside there, how is he so calm? Yugiki cried in fear, this isn't possible. His soul should have been swallowed whole. Ha ha, you want to kill me with a parlor trick? Aren't you a tad bit naive, insidious demon? An azure flame flashed from within the grey tendrils. The grey energy retreated every time the flame moved. As the grey energy withdrew, Zhuo Fan was soon revealed before the crowd with an azure light coming from his forehead. Zhuo Fan muttered, demon transformation art. Suddenly, the grey energy wailed as they were devoured by the azure flame. And Zhuo Fan felt his soul growing stronger as result. Demon transformation art was originally used to absorb everything to promote one's cultivation. The reason he couldn't absorb souls so far was because his own wasn't strong enough. It would only be a detriment if the result would have harmed him instead. But since he refined his soul, it grew in power, akin to Radiant Stage Cultivator's level. And having the strange azure flame as a protector, this measly amount of vengeful ghosts were nothing more than a snack after the flame removed the waste. Eyeing Yugiki in the air, Zhuofan mocked, "Is that it? If you have no trick up your sleeve, guess I'll have to get serious." "Get serious? He, stop showing off. Are you saying you've been playing around all this time?" Yugiki was both angry and startled. Startled that Zhuofan could dismiss such a strong attack and angry from his contempt. But that was how Zhuofan treated him, with naked contempt. Wasn't he insidious demon of Hell Valley, their #1 sage? Despite all that, fear grew inside him. This was a foreign feeling to him since he always grasped his opponent's weakness before striking them down. But when he looked at Zhuofan, he only felt powerless despite everything he threw at the kid. Furthermore, he had a nagging feeling that all his moves were within Zhuofan's calculations. Zhuofan played him like a fiddle, leaving him without a shred of dignity. This fear he had was the worst he ever felt. Chuckling, Zhuofan mocked again, "Seventh Elder, I wonder, do you remember what you told me a few months back in the All-Beast Mountain Range? Against true power, all schemes are moot." Yugiki's eyes dilated, his heart sped up, and a bad feeling crept its way down his spine. "Today, I throw this line right back at you." Grinning, Zhuofan pointed at the sky, "In just one move, I will have your head." "Bullshit." Yugiki could no longer take it and snapped. He now realized Zhuofan's end goal this time was revenge against him while he was only saving Xuaningxiang in passing. From the moment Zhuofan showed up, he smacked the old man's face at every corner, to show him how useless his insidious demon moniker was before true power. "My intelligence is laughable when it comes face to face with raw power. My cunningness falls short to his." Zhuofan wanted to crush his pride as an insidious person, to die in pain. What a dreadful kid, far worse than even Yugiki. Jian Suifeng felt overwhelmed with shock. He is even more terrifying than Zhuge Changfeng. This thought helped Jian Suifeng understand Zhuofan's actions so far. It is unknown if he will one day be friend or foe. Observing him now is for the best. Ignoring the gazes around him, Zhuofan stared down Yugiki with delight in his eyes. Perhaps all demonic cultivators were at their happiest in the throes of slaughter. Zhuofan laughed, "Yugiki, ready? It's time you see what real power looks like." He jumped the next moment. Bam! He shot for Yugiki like a rocket. Yugiki attacked with his yin-yang chains. But with a flap of his wings, Zhuofan slipped right past them. Yin-yang chains couldn't even touch him and he was already punching at Yugiki. "Haha, got you." Yugiki laughed and a black and white chain flew at Zhuofan's chest. But Zhuofan only said, "Oh, so you had another set of chains besides those two? But so what? With my power, all your plans are moot, including all you've hidden so far." Zhuofan's eyes flashed and a golden light flew from his body. It was the blood infant after being refined with diamond sand. The blood infant, which was comparable to a 5th-grade demonic treasure, charged at the black and white chain. The chains couldn't last even a second as blood infant tore through it along with Yugiki's arm. Yugiki was shocked to find that the golden light, which passed by his ear, had taken away not only the chain but also his arm. He only now woke up to the validity of Zhuofan's previous words, so much so that blood infant's power scared Yugiki. He had no time to feel the loss of his arm when Zhuofan's punch was right at his face. "Damn runt, you think you can kill me in one move?" He knew his death was sealed, but he wasn't about to let Zhuofan determine how he died. Or he really would never rest in the afterlife. The only reason he still fought was for his honor. Whoosh! Third-grade demonic treasure Twisted Needle flew from his sleeve towards Shuofan's fist. As long as he stopped the fist, he wouldn't die in one blow. Such was the glorious mind of the number one sage in Hell Valley reduced to after fighting with an equally insidious demon. Shuofan was here to make sure he would be left without a scrap of honor. The punch still moved without hesitation, meeting with the Twisted Needle, to the joy and hope of Yugiki. But the crisp sound that resulted from the contact revealed that the Twisted Needle broke in two. The fist was unaffected in the slightest as it bore into Yugiki's chest. Yugiki watched in horror and muttered, What kind of damn monster are you? Humph, I don't mind telling you. My body is as strong as a 5th-grade demonic treasure. Yours was only a 3rd-grade demonic treasure. And as for why I'm such a freak. Shuofan's eyes flashed as he recalled the endless anguish and torment he had to live through. Isn't it all your fault? Roaring, Shuofan threw his fist and flung Yugiki into the ground, smashing a few buildings. Blood flew from Yugiki's mouth as he watched Shuofan in the air with shock and loss. How does your freakish change have anything to do with me? With this final thought, Yugiki's head sagged and breathed his last. His eyes were wide open, never to find peace. Chapter 82, Shocking Fame. Chapter 82, Shocking Fame. Shuofan spread his wings among the clouds and hovered like a god towering above the ants. In his hand, he was clutching a still-beating heart which was dripping blood. But the owner of this heart had long met his end and was no more than a stiff corpse, never again able to find peace from the horrors he endured. The onlookers raised their heads in shock, but witnessing the majesty of Shuofan, they even forgot to breathe. Fear was almost palpable among the Hell Valley's guards. In just a single blow, the notorious insidious demon, the number one sage of Hell Valley, Yugiki died. Xia Tianyang was in denial of what he witnessed. Even Jian Suifeng was swept by fear as he gazed upon the youth hovering in the sky. A true monster. Jian Suifeng muttered. Shuofan simply relaxed his grip and the heart dropped down to the ground with a splat. But this casual action seized everyone's hearts. As Shuofan's cold stare roamed among the people, they lowered their heads in fear, horrified that the demon would set his gaze on them. Shuofan, however, only laughed. That guy must have run off to his house. He actually slipped away again. He suddenly swooped down, alarming the people into scattering. But he went by Xuaningxiang and held her. Xuaningxiang let out a short cry before being carried into the clouds. They both then disappeared in a lightning flash. In a clearing outside Blue Expanse City, lightning sparked, revealing Xuaningxiang in Shuofan Landing. As he eased her onto the ground, she looked at him in puzzlement. Shuofan had a faint smile. I said that I will take you out of the city, and I have. Now, I have fulfilled my promise. Is this the outside world? Xuaningxiang darted her eyes around and breathed in, a smile playing on her lips. This is the first time I'm walking outside the city. I'm finally out. Xuaningxiang laughed and blushed. Thank you, big brother Zhuo. It's nothing. We shook on it, didn't we? Shuofan said, Ninger, this might be the right time to say goodbye. You're leaving. Xuaningxiang jerked her head up, her eyes fixed on Shuofan. Where to? He sighed as he said, I don't know. There are still so many things I need to do. The most pressing matters were finding the Lightning Canyon, Heavenly Emperor's remnant, and searching for experts to strengthen the Luo clan. Despite having no clue where to start on any of them, he had to keep looking. Xuaningxiang saw his mind was set and spoke softly, Big brother Zhuo, can I come with you? No. Shuofan denied, with your strength, you will be in too much danger. Xuaningxiang lowered her head in defeat. She knew she'd be just a burden to him if she went. Shuofan tousled her head with a smile, and you still have your clan to look after. Shui clan offended Hell Valley and needs to find someone that can protect it. The Sword Marquis's abode is a good choice. From Xie Tianyang's sharp mouth, he must be quite high-placed. If he vouches for you, Sword Marquis's abode is sure to take you in. Shui Ningxiang raised her head then nodded. Now was the time to look for a safe place for her clan. It would be too cruel of her, and selfish, to go with Shuo Fan and leave her father and brothers in danger. She was embarrassed but still felt reluctant to part with him. Ha ha ha, bye, little sister. Shuo Fan ruffled her head one last time and left with a smile. Tears formed in Shui Ningxiang's eyes as she shouted, Big brother Shuo, when will we see each other again? When the thunder ring flashes. Shuo Fan waved as he walked away, the thunder ring on his and Shui Ningxiang's fingers flashing. In another area, Jian Suifeng was looking down on Yugiki's corpse, the enemy who robbed him of his 3 fingers. He recalled Yugiki's wretched death and his mood livened. Oh, Yugiki, what a tragedy befell you, one of the great men of Jianyu Empire. Jian Suifeng found that the Hell Valley guards Shuo Fan routed were now scrambling away from this place, abandoning even their elder's body. Only a cold wind blew over the white hairs on Yugiki's body which was lying there on the cold and hard rubble. His eyes were wide, despite losing their light. Xie Tianyang was still looking at the sky, in Shuo Fan's direction, but then spoke in a sour tone, Damn bastard, good for you killing Yugiki, but what are you playing at taking Ning'er? Tianyang, help the others down, we'll rush to Sword Marquis's abode to heal them. The Shui clan will become Sword Marquis's abode's vassal clan. Jian Suifeng indicated towards the crucified Shui clansman. Xie Tianyang jumped and smiled, that's my intention. 8th Elder, who knew we thought alike? I was also going to save Ning'er's clan. Humph, who is like-minded with a brat? Jian Suifeng snorted, you've seen what that little monster is capable of. Only time will tell how far his strength will reach. Since he went out of his way to save these people, it won't hurt to earn his favor. We might even become friends in the future. And in case we stand on opposite sides, we can use these people as hostages to deal with him. Xie Tianyang only smiled wryly at his elder's reasoning. Humph, so you're not saving Shui clan because of me but because of that prick Shuo Fan. Just who is a Sword Marquis's abode's core disciple here anyway? If this gets out, my name will be dragged through the mud. Although secretly cursing, he still went to work. Since this was his aim all along, to help Shui Ningxiang. Yet none was the wiser as half a mile out, Yu Ming was curled up in shivers. His fear of Shuo Fan grew out of proportion, to such a scale that he might never overcome this heart demon. Bastard, this is the 3rd time. What did I ever do to you? Everywhere I go, you come killing. Last time you killed 2 elders and this time you killed my master. Abomination. Yu Ming cursed Shuo Fan to high heavens. But when Shuo Fan's cold face resurfaced in his mind, shivers reeked his body. A month later, in the emperor's gardens of the imperial capital, 2 old men were playing chess beneath a pavilion. One of them was dressed in a golden gown and had white temples and cloudy eyes, he was the emperor of Jianyu Empire. The other elderly had a long beard, white hair, and exuded an imposing aura. Whenever a guard looked his way, their eyes were filled with respect. Among the melodious chirping of the garden birds, the chess pieces being moved made for a calming rhythm. Suddenly, a wail broke the blissful peace, Lord Father, something big just happened. A 200-kilo round ball of flesh rolled next to the emperor. He shook the very earth he stepped on and threw the chess match into a mess. Rubbing his forehead, the emperor smiled dejectedly at the other man, who only smiled understandingly. Tsonger, didn't I tell you to face all events with calm? And haven't you noticed that I am playing chess with Mr. Sima? Why yes, I know my wrongs. Yuan Song rushed a bow to the emperor and the elderly, then wiped the sweat from his forehead. Speak, what is the matter? The emperor held on to another chess piece, not minding his son. Yuan Song forced his excitement down and said in a grave tone, reporting to Lord Father, Hell Valley's seventh elder was killed a month ago. The chess piece in the emperor's hand clanked on the board and he looked at the frowning Mr. Sima. Who did it? The emperor then turned his hardened face towards Yuan Kong. Seeing no one around, Yuan Song whispered, it is someone from the clan we are currently endorsing, Luo clan's steward, Zhuo Fan. A month ago, something got into him that he killed the seventh elder of Hell Valley in Blue Expanse City under everyone's eyes. It was also revealed that he was the one who killed Hell Valley's two other elders in Windgaze City and used Veiled Dragon Pavilion as a patsy. What? A brat killed Hell Valley's three elders, their precious Yugiki included? What guts? Mr. Sima said to the emperor, Your Majesty, how should we handle it? The emperor evoked a faint smile and kept playing chess. If it only involved the 7 houses, it would have posed a headache. But as matters stand, Yuanshan won't have the cheek to complain to me. Don't let them snuff out the Luo clan. This pearl of mine is about to reveal its splendor, ahaha. Bam! The emperor slammed the chess piece with delight. Yuan Song looked long at the emperor then bowed and left. Prime Minister's residence in the imperial capital. Prime Minister Zhuge Changfeng laid on a rocking chair with half-closed eyes, swaying gently. Suddenly, a black shadow whispered in his ear. What? Zhuge Changfeng flashed his eyes open in shock, then sighed, the balance between the 7 houses is now askew. I will need to make ample preparations for the aftermath. And he resumed his previous state, gently swaying on the rocking chair. High Priest's residence in imperial capital. A white-haired elder was reading through some information delivered by one of his men. As he read through, a frown appeared on his forehead and he signaled his men to withdraw. With shaking steps deigning his old appearance, the elder walked into the observatory and looked up towards the sea of stars. The star of war is near and turmoil is on our doorsteps. A spark is enough to light this powder keg. The ruler is about to change, I only hope the people can weather the storm. Veiled Dragon Pavilion's headquarters. Pavilion Lord Long Yifi and some elders were in a meeting, but 2 young people were also present, Long Jia and Long Kuei. Because of their efforts and brilliant conduct, 7 days ago, Long Yifi officially allowed them to participate in the Elder Council, pleasing the 2 to no end. Recently, Xiao Kuei and Xiao Jia have displayed impeccable conduct. I propose to send them to cultivate under the Grand Elder and learn the house's profound ranked martial art. Long Yifi smiled looking at the 2 and spoke with pride. Third Elder commented with a hardened look, these 2 kids progressed well, however, they are only average by contrast with the other house's genius disciples. How? Third Elder, don't underestimate us. We are on the verge of breaking through to the bone-tempering stage. Long Kuei protested while Long Jia was in accord, Third Elder is right. I heard rumors that Sword Marquis Abode Xie Tianyang became a bone-tempering expert 3 years prior. We are still far behind him. Xiao Jia is so modest. You will do great deeds in the future. God I Long Jiao nodded with satisfaction, a black crow perched on his shoulder, the soul-devouring crow he got from Zhuo Fan. Looking at the bird, Long Jiao couldn't help his expression softening. If you 2 brats were half a man my brother Zhuo is, you'd be training our passed-down profound ranked martial art by now. Humph, Uncle Jiao, why bring him into this? Long Kuei always became irritated whenever she heard Zhuo Fan's name, he is cocky, brash, and doesn't want to join Veiled Dragon Pavilion. Even if he has a smidgen of talent, that doesn't make his rise guaranteed. We will undoubtedly surpass him. A man suddenly barged in while shouting, urgent report, Pavilion Lord. Third Elder waved him away after taking the report and read it. The next moment, his hand froze and the paper drifted to the floor. What's wrong, Third Elder? Long Jiao picked up the paper in worry, never having seen third elder so spooked. But the contents left his soul in tears. "Good brother, I owe you again. What is all this about?" Long Yifi was inquisitive like the rest of the people present and took the paper. His brows shook and his voice betrayed his excitement. Hell Valley's Yugiki was killed by Zhuo Fan in Blue Expanse City. What? Everyone was dumbstruck. Who hadn't heard of Yugiki? He was the greatest headache of everyone, especially for Long Jiu, who had his eye stolen in Yugiki's ploy. Yet this dreadful man was killed by Zhuo Fan. Their shock was understandable. Even Long Jia and Long Kuei had heard of Yugiki's infamy. After all, he was a man feared by all elders of the Veiled Dragon Pavilion. They instantly felt how far behind Zhuo Fan had left them. "Ha ha ha, well done." Long Yifi burst in laughter. "I was right in my decision. This kid is a dragon among men. Increase our support to the Luo clan and send some men to safeguard their clan. I'm sure we all can agree on that." It was a unanimous decision. Not even the elders who were against Long Yifi proposing an alliance with Zhuo Fan showed any complaint. After all, none of them here could do what Zhuo Fan did, sending that Yugiki to his grave. And the Veiled Dragon Pavilion was just the beginning. The continent's clans soon came to know of this affair. Among the shocks and cries of joy, Zhuo Fan's name was etched in the minds of many clan leaders. And there are also reports that the Imperial family and Veiled Dragon Pavilion's experts are patrolling nearby Windgaze City. We will fall into their trap if we go. Grand Elder urged. Eyeing the two most respected elders, Yuan Shan hesitated for a while before spatting through gritted teeth. "We can't do this, we can't do that. What else can we actually do?" Even the elders turned silent. Yuan Shan sighed. This wouldn't have been such a headache if the seventh elder was here. Blasted punk, he managed to rob me of my wisest advisor. When I get my hands on you, I will skin you alive. Seeing them all pensive, the kneeling Yuming darted his eyes left and right before making a tentative remark. "Valley Lord, may disciple be so bold as to convey a solution." "Humph, the elders' meeting is not something you can join. Get the hell out." Yuan Shan barked without even looking at Yuming. But Grand Elder's gesture detained him. "Valley Lord, the kid can be considered as seventh elder's successor. Why not give him a chance?" Yuan Shan conceded when he heard the Grand Elder's reason. Yuming's heart burst with joy as he rushed to explain. "Valley Lord, this disciple's humble opinion is to ignore the Luo clan. From my observation, Luo clan is relying on Zhuo Fan. With him around, even if we remove the Luo clan, it will only make it worse for us. But if Zhuo Fan is out of the picture, then the Luo clan will fall from grace. They will have no hope of replacing us, Hell Valley." Yuan Shan's eyes flickered. "Go on." "Yes." His mouth twisted in a smile. Yuming said, "We cannot approach Windgaze City, but Zhuo Fan is nowhere near it either. We just need to focus all our efforts in dealing with him." "And how will we find him?" Yuan Shan questioned. "Issue the Hell Kill order and have the Empire corner him." Yuming revealed his savage side. "We will then know where he is going, and before he returns to Windgaze City, we can just ambush him." Yuan Shan cackled. "Good, that's what we'll do. Men." He then shouted orders. "In my name as Hell Valley's leader, I declare the Hell Kill order on Zhuo Fan. Anyone who provides clues to his location can become a vassal to Hell Valley. Anyone who brings me his head will become Hell Valley's #1 vassal, ruling above all others." Yuan Shan's sinister laughter echoed, to which Yuming followed up with a vile smile. "Zhuo Fan, you abomination. I won't dare face you, but now you have the whole empire after your head, he he he." Grand Elder smiled. "As I thought, this kid is still thinking about revenge." But the elder didn't care since Zhuo Fan was the enemy of Hell Valley. Grand Elder stated, Valley Lord, even if we declare Hell kill order on Zhuo Fan, since he killed 7th Elder, the weak clans won't be his match. I think we will have to act if we want to end him after all. Then all elders move out, kill that bastard. Wait. Grand Elder gestured, he killed 7th Elder, elders below 7th won't be of any help. From Ming'er's retelling of him, he must be a body-refining demonic cultivator. The only ones who can stand up to him are the first 5 elders. Furthermore, he turned to a red-haired elder, 5th Elder, you refined your body with the scorching demon flame. Your unbreakable body is the perfect match for that kid. Don't look at me. Yet the man in question shook his hands again and again while smirking, I am about to join Drifting Flowers Edifice's 100-pill meeting. I don't have the time to run around after some snot-nosed brat. Humph, what's so great being invited by women to a meeting to discuss about pills? Is going there more important than taking revenge for the house? Yuan Shan snapped. Grand Elder lightened the atmosphere with a smile, Valley Lord, the Drifting Flowers Edifice may be made up of women, but they are still one of the 7 houses. Establishing a close relationship will only work in our favor. They extended an invitation to 5th Elder since they took an interest in his fire attribute cultivation method, in hope of refining new pills. Humph, how did a bunch of skanks climb up to our position? One day I will personally go and take over their domain. Yuan Shan said viciously. Grand Elder shook his head, Valley Lord, I would like to have Yu Ming participate in 7th Elder's place in our future elder meetings. Staring at Yu Ming, Yuan Shan nodded, fine, raise him well, as the next insidious demon, ha ha ha. Yu Ming was overjoyed in his bowing. Meanwhile, in Black Wind Mountain, Captain Pang was cultivating by sitting on 36 blades. His body was riddled with scars. While cultivating, black tendrils of energy would leave his body, drift around the blades, and return back to him. But as each black tendril went back into his body, a new bloody scar adorned his wreaked body, making him frown. Suddenly, a shadow grew before him and Lei Yuding came from behind. Cracking his eyelids, Captain Pang stood up with a smirk, Miss Lei's elusive shadow art is becoming more and more outstanding. I didn't even notice you were coming. Humph, your wraith art isn't any less impressive, reaching bone-tempering stage in just a year. You're making those clan's geniuses jealous. He, it's all because of Brother Zhuo. Captain Pang laughed and peeked next to him. Not 5 meters from him, a 15-year-old was braving above other blades as sweat marred his brow and trailed along his scarred body. But around him were corpses riddled with wounds, as if hacked by countless edged weapons. Damn it, what kind of vile method are you cultivating? Lei Yuding cursed. Captain Pang replied with indifference, of the 20 kids you sent, only 1 barely made it. Send me another batch. With just 1 survivor you want more? Lei Yuding raised her voice in shock. Captain Pang smirked, it's actually quite a good result. For 50 to die while training in this art is normal. But for Luo clan, everything is worth it. Humph, you are hard at cultivating, and what is that brother of yours doing? Snorting, Lei Yuding fetched a paper, he killed Hell Valley's 7th Elder and they've issued a kill order. What? Captain Pang burst into laughter, Brother Zhuo truly does incredible things, shaking the world everywhere he goes. Then he patted Lei Yuding's shoulder, Miss Lei, don't be too worried. With Brother Zhuo's skills, Hell Valley's order won't affect him. Humph, who the hell cares about him? Lei Yuding muttered through gnashed teeth, he just went and provoked Hell Valley over a girl. Since when was he so goody-goody? Captain Pang grinned, so that's what it was, ha ha ha. Sometimes, Brother Zhuo quite likes striking a heroic figure. Hero? My ass. You think I don't know him? Sighing, Lei Yuding turned into a shadow and vanished. Captain Pang shouted the next moment, don't mention this to young miss, especially the last part. But Lei Yuding's response didn't come. Captain Pang sighed, "Ah, women, you're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.